Oh, man. That's terrible. What's up? Anybody in here? How's the sound? Everything sound okay? Cool. Is the fan bothering you guys, or can you guys hear the fan in the background, or no? Oh yeah. All right, hold on. I'm just gonna post that I'm a story that I'm doing this on Instagram real quick, and then I'll get right with you guys. Let me see if I can remember how to do that. Okay, so I have to go to YouTube. I got a lot of apps, man. I got to go to YouTube, and I got to screenshot that, and then I got to throw that onto um, the Instagram, right? Okay, yeah, that should be how we do this, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, let me just throw that on there, and then I will be right with you guys. There's probably a more professional way to do this, but obviously I'm not more professional about this sort of thing. So there we are. Sorry, guys. One second. All right. All right. There we go. Cool. See a lot of you guys in there already. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it. I already screwed up the first 2 minutes, but I want to make this kind of watchable for everybody because I know a lot of people are going to probably be tuning in, after not catching the live. So I want to just jump into answering one question real quick. Actually, okay. All right, yeah. So let's just jump into questions. Egan asked the first question, so go for it. I'll answer that, and then I'll do a little statement of like thanks or whatnot. But I just kind of want to get into it so it can be something that's somewhat watchable after the fact. All right, yeah. Go ahead with your first question, man. Or I can pull one off the community post that I already made. Right? Is there more? Yeah. Sorry, I'm not. I'm definitely the older generation that does not understand this stuff. Is there a way that I'm supposed to be seeing? Is there more down here in the chat? God damn it. No, there's not. Okay. All right. In that case, I'm just going to go with. I'm going to go with a question off of the uh, community post. Never mind. All right, you got it. How did you get your knowledge level? Where can I find the sources you studied? 19-year-old coach to be here from Turkey. Excellent question, man. I mean, I started out just pure experience. I just went to the gym and I copied what the big guys were doing. This may not make sense to you in Turkey, but the Americans will get it. I went to a school that prioritized football, American football, to the extent that the football team actually trained in the same gym as the general population, which meant that like the football team actually had to get good grades. A lot of them are doctors now, so that should tell you how seriously they took football. But anyway, that meant I could watch the football guys working out. So that's what I did. I just went in, did what the big guys were doing, and that was my first year. Then I read Arnold's Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. Good book. Got into it from there, and then started kind of learning stuff on the internet. I'd say my top resources. Got one of them right here, my bookshelf. Oops. Super Strength by Alan Calvert. Probably the best old school book that I've read. Muscle, Smoke, and Mirrors is a great book about the kind of the history of bodybuilding. Not as much technical information, but a really good book to read. and then a blog called the Tight Tan Slacks of Desoband. Weird name. I don't know why it's called that, but it's got a ton of old articles. I mean, but at the same time, I look at a bunch of new stuff too. I'm very interested in, a bunch of people who aren't necessarily old school. So a variety of sources, but those are some good ones that I can tell you. All right, so it looks like how many people? Yeah, let me wait for a couple more people to get in. In the meantime, I'm going to answer one more question from the pre-made ones. What's your opinion on high rep push-ups and bodyweight squats for greasing the groove? To be honest with you, I've never been a huge fan of like greasing the groove with like the bodyweight stuff. I've never gotten much out of it, even when I was like kind of a beginner. I've always gotten more out of just like trying to do max effort sets and increase performance. That's always worked a lot better for me than that sort of thing. What I have found to work, I mean, for lifts, if you just kind of do a thing where you do like an everyday max, like every time you go in the gym, like let's say for example you want to do deadlifts, just work up to kind of an easy single each time you go in the gym, and then you do whatever else you're going to do in the gym. I found that to work very well. But as far as just like the old idea, like hang up a chin up bar and every time you walk through the doorway you do 5 pull-ups, I've never seen anything from that, to be honest, man. Hate to say, but I don't see a whole lot from that. Okay, so we got people from Spain, Turkey, a lot of international collaboration here. Very cool. Cool. Let me go into one or two more of these pre-made questions, and then I'll do a little bit of a statement, and then we'll kind of kick it off. Like I said, I want to be fairly content heavy right off the bat because I want this to be at least somewhat watchable for the people. Macedonia. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Very great history there. I have no idea what Macedonia is like now. Okay, let's see. Which lift are you most proud of? I guess I would say, I mean, my heaviest Jefferson curl, which right now is 365, just because, I mean, not only is it something that people haven't really seen, it's also just, it's something that I had to really work against my own like kind of limitations on. My hamstring mobility is not a natural strength. So to get to the point where I'm actually getting to decent depth on that, especially with my legs being real long, that doesn't play to my strength. So, and like taking it that far is something that has not been seen a whole lot in this era. So I'm pretty proud of that. And I'm also proud that I've managed to get, a lot of, not a lot, but a number of my clients to that same depth, like easier than I ever did. So I guess I learned a thing or two in the process, and I can help other people. That being said, I have about the longest legs there are, so it's going to be hard for me than just about anyone. Not just about anyone. I mean, there are people worse off than me. Whatever. It's not worse off. It's nice. I can like go reach things on high shelves and whatnot. But it makes it hard to get all the way down that low and make it look good, right? But yeah, the Jefferson curl, I guess, would be the one I'm most proud of for all of those reasons. Got someone here from New Zealand. That sounds amazing. It sounds wonderful. You're I follow a guy on Instagram who's a hunting guide there, and he always it looks like he's just like living in the Shire, hunting animals I've never heard the names of. By the way, condolences for the loss of your that gentleman that I read about who kind of I guess kept his kids out in the woods because his crazy ex, maybe on drugs or whatever, had gotten custody and was trying to not raise them right. He was just raising them in the woods. I mean, what a hero. I mean, he's right there on the kind of up there with Uncle Ted and Sky King and what's the fellow with the bulldozer. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. You fight the good fight and you lose that way, unfortunately. But yeah, condolences to the loss of your countrymen, Andrew. How to deal with depression and the feeling of being lost in life? Hold that thought. I've got a couple more people, so I want to do a little bit of a statement, maybe a little corny, but I want to do a little bit of a statement of thanks, since this is kind of a thank you Q&A before I get into that, but I will come right back to that, Mr. Crazy Weight. Okay, I kind of wrote a little something down just to kind of make sure I had something that I wasn't like rambling too much. So let me see if I can tab over and make this work. Once again, we're constantly going to be in a little bit of a battle against the limitations of my ability to use technology this entire time. But I appreciate you guys bearing with me. Obviously, you would be following me if you didn't know that was going to be a thing. All right, so yeah, before we go any further, I just want to take the time to thank you guys for following. I really appreciate you. I'm not going to say I love you all or anything corny like that. That, you know, a lot of YouTube people say that stuff, and maybe it works, but it's like I've never met you guys. I have no idea who any of you are, other than the ones that I've actually met in real life, like running into you while taking my kids to waterfalls, which is not a lot of people, but it's crazy that that's happened more than once. I'm kind of proud of how often I've taken my kids to waterfalls. And it's cool that I've run into multiple people at multiple different waterfalls that know me from the internet. But anyway, I've only run into a handful of you in real life, so I don't really know any of you as people for the most part. So I'm not gonna, say I care particularly much about you as individuals. But what I can say is that while I might not have a huge number of followers compared to a lot of channels, you guys are demonstrably higher in quality. Like, I can talk about the most esoteric of topics. It's gonna be exercise, history, philosophy, whatever, and I'm inevitably gonna get lots of well thought out, multi-paragraph length comments on stuff that most people have just never even heard of, and you guys know a whole lot about it, often more than myself. Like, I'll make some allusion to Baudrillard or something, which, I mean, I'm not qualified to talk about Baudrillard. And some of you are like, oh yeah, no, that's actually, I know all about that. You actually kind of got it somewhat right, and that's like, wow, you guys know a lot about a lot, right? So I'd say that's pretty fair. I don't know what you guys look like or what you guys do for fun, but you're clearly smarter than the average pleb who follows somebody like Jeff Nippert, right? And obviously not all of you leave comments, but I'm assuming that those who do are somewhat representative of the general quality. And besides, like, you're following me, and that means you're interested enough in some esoteric topics to get past me not really knowing how to do audio or edit videos or keep things concise enough for the attention span of the average Zoomer. I don't like edit video game footage into my videos to keep your attention. And if I did, probably be RuneScape, so it probably wouldn't keep your attention anyway, because I'm a little bit old school. But anyway, so I think I'm objectively justified in saying that you guys are above average in terms of quality of viewers, right? So I appreciate you getting past me not making the most entertaining or polished videos and following me anyway. I do intend to try to work on that stuff, but in the meantime, I appreciate it. And like, obviously, I'm not going to get to know the majority of you guys IRL, but I do kind of want to get to know at least where you guys are as an audience the best I can, which is why I wanted to do this live. One of the issues that I deal with on social media is I'm interested in a ton of different things, like from fasting to obviously obscure exercises to bodybuilding to like all sorts of stuff. And then obviously I want to get to, like, occasionally I can't stop myself from getting into politics and whatnot. So that means I'm drawing people from a variety of different camps, which is cool. I think that's a good thing, and I'm gonna keep doing that because I think one of the biggest problems in the fitness industry today is everything's too siloed. People just focusing on this one thing, and that's their thing. We're the mobility guys. We only do mobility. Fuck bodybuilding. We're the bodybuilders. All we train for is hypertrophy. We hate strength, right? Like, I don't like that. I want to draw from multiple areas and bring what I know from that to you guys. But as far as the algorithm goes, that means I'm going to have kind of a segmented audience, which means I do something that's like really cool for some of you, but then the rest of you don't care. Which, I mean, you don't have to care, right? But it makes it hard to get stuff to kind of work in terms of the algorithm. And I don't really do the thing where like I'll search up like what's going to be like the most most clicked on titles and like what it was. Like, I don't really play the game in that sense, but I do want to just as best I can get a sense for what you guys are most interested that I'm also interested in, just to kind of make this work. So that's another reason for wanting to do this. Anyway, thank you guys for subscribing. I really appreciate it. And without further ado, I'm going to get into the gentleman's question about depression. Let me look up to that. Sorry, now we're running into my technical shit again. There we go. Lachlan, what's up, dude? I'll get to your question in a second. Lachlan is one of my star clients. Guy's an absolute animal. I mean, what's your record, man, on bench press? Like you did like something like 225 for 30, like 275 for like 22 or something. That's a beast. Like I'm very flattered that someone like that wants to work with me. He's one of the guys I talked about. He's got his Jefferson curls plates touching the floor already. Very impressive searcher deadlifts. Just absolute stud. Um, clearly got some. I don't like talking about genetics, but clearly there's a little bit of strength genetics going on there. Anyway, before I get to, I'm going to answer his question too. But before I get to that, I said I was going to answer gentleman's question about depression. Damn, where is it? Crazy weight. Okay, how to deal with depression and the feeling of being lost in life. Obviously, I don't know what you're dealing with. Like, it's good. I think in a lot of cases, depression is going to be very. First of all, the chemical imbalance theory, that's never been confirmed that you have some chemical imbalance in your brain that where just you're producing the wrong chemicals and something's wrong with you. And I'm sure in some cases there is something that's just wrong with a person's brain for no apparent reason that is causing them to feel that way. But I think in most cases it is life circumstances, and that is why you don't feel so good, and that kind of makes sense, right? So obviously I have no idea what your life circumstances are. In fact, well, you know what? I don't have to guess. We're doing this live, so I mean, feeling lost in life. I'll touch on the feeling lost in life bit right now because that gives me a little bit of a clue. Maybe you don't know which way to go in terms of like trying to make your situation better, and that's one of the biggest problems that I think people today are dealing with, especially young men, because things seem like they're not so hard in the sense that we all have like material comforts. We have, most of us have enough food to eat, things of that nature. We obviously got some kind of electronic device you're watching this on. But as far as how to make your situation better, it's kind of labyrinthine. Like how do I actually like increase my economic standing enough to have a lot of the things that I want or need? How do I get a girlfriend or, ideally eventually a wife and a family? If I were to get a wife, how the hell would I manage to actually raise my kids while also like having time to do things to afford them? It's crazy. And it's not always clear. Like, it's not clear how to get a good job because you can I know young folks these days can fire off like, 1,000 applications and not get one callback. Like when I got my first job, I literally just saw an ad in the paper, in the newspaper. I'm not even that old. I'm only 36, right? But this was like in 2000. This was in probably 2006 or somewhere along those lines. 2006, somewhere like before the crash. Just saw an article, saw a newspaper ad, called up, hey, yeah, come in for an interview. And then I showed up, and out of all the folks that showed up, I was the only one that didn't threaten to burn down the gas station that company did business at. I didn't end up on the 10 o'clock news as a sex offender, and I wasn't just a complete lazy piece of shit. So out of all those folks, I got hired. It was that easy. I just one call, one show up, boom, there you go. That wasn't a great job, but it was something, right? And now things are crazy. So where I'm going with that, I got way too long-winded on that. Whenever you can see a clear path to improvement, just focus on that, man. Like if it's physical fitness is a good one because there's always something you can do. And it may not seem like it's going to do that much right now. It may not seem like it's going to fix any of the big problems. It may not seem like it's going to get you, it's not going to get you a job. It's not going to get you a wife or whatever. But it's something, and it might come in handy at some point. It keeps you going, keeps you doing something useful. And the other thing that people sleep on is just social circle. Like a lot of young men talk about, how do I get a girlfriend? And then they don't have any friends. And I'm not bashing you. I'm not trying to be mean, but like just, you can go out and meet people that have some kind of similar interest to you, like guys, just, talk to people in real life and try to have some kind of social circle in real life. It's free. There's got to be other people like, with some kind of shared interest, whether it's, whatever it may be. And, through that, maybe you network with somebody who does have a job. Maybe you network with somebody who's got, a sister who needs someone to date. I'm not saying, hey, dude, I'm not saying go make a friend and be like, hey, dude, you got any sisters? Like, that'd be weird. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so those are two things I can think of that almost anybody could find a path to improve. Because what gets you so depressed is like that helpless feeling of I don't even know what I would do to improve the situation. So focus on things where you can see, hey, if I do this, like if I go to the gym consistently, or even if I don't have a gym, if I know if I do these pull-ups consistently, I will improve at least this. Or hey, I know if I like find a hobby, whether it's like whatever it happens to be that interests me, and just go hang out with other dudes who are interested in that, I know I will eventually develop more of a social circle. Do shit that you can see a clear path to improvement. And I will try to look through the comments and see like if there's any more details on your personal situation, crazy weight, or whatever the case may be. I said that way too much. Anyway, yeah. So that's my answer for now. We'll go back to that in a second. Okay. How would you program training both the bent press and the clean and jerk? Same day, one before the other, or different days. I could honestly see it working any of those ways. I think back in the day, like the old time strongmen would probably have done both in one day because they were typically going to be training every day, but they would not be going all out, not going to failure. It'd be more like these are competitive, or not competitive. Sorry, well in some cases competitors, in a lot of cases performers. So they're practicing their performance every day, but obviously with lower intensity. So you could definitely do it you could do it on the same day. You could do it separate days. I would probably want to do the clean and jerk first and then the bent press after, but they don't necessarily, the only real shared stress areas are going to be the kind of the wrist and shoulder. I can see either one working. Okay, let's get to Lachlan's question. Are there any historical parallels to modern lifting fads and trends that you can think of right off the top of your head? Yeah, man, there's a ton. So what appears to me, like what I first think of is like the OG of scams, Eugene Sandow. A lot of you probably know of him, as the father of bodybuilding. His statue is still used for the Mr. Olympia trophy, even though obviously the guys today look nothing like Sandow. And while I don't think he was a person of great character, I think they would be better off if they looked like him, because obviously he's more aesthetic than he's just, I mean, it's gotten kind of bizarre. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he sold his light dumbbell system, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's this idea that you can just use a bunch of mind muscle connection with like 5-pound dumbbells, just like really focusing on squeezing and contracting, in your overhead press, your bicep curls and whatnot, just 5 pounds, just squeeze and contract and all that good stuff, for like 50 reps and whatnot. And that's going to somehow get you jacked. He attributed most of his physique to that, right? And of course, and you have some people today who simp for that and like act like it's like that's still something that has some value. His contemporaries were not so charitable. I showed you guys earlier. No, it's not Super Strength. That's another book. In Super Strength, Calvert is not convinced. I know Arthur Saxon was not convinced. George Hackenschmidt was not convinced. Basically, he was just, it's easy to sell people easy training. You just have to take something that's super easy to do and then come up with some really great rationalization for why it works and why it's great and why everybody should do it. And then people eat it up, and you're going to be very commercially successful doing that. And that has never, ever, ever changed. I mean, that's kind of that's the secret, obviously, to science-based lifting. You don't have to do any hard exercises, anything with a barbell, anything difficult. You can just get rid of all that. Just train on machines. Cuff up your little elbow. Do the little flaps. You don't have to train to failure. You can train to 2 reps in reserve or 5 or whatever. It's all good. Just do all that. That's that's one side of the equation. And then they're ops. The other side does the same thing. Like the people that they're always bashing, the kettlebell folks, the functional folks, they do the same stuff. Like underloaded, just, movements in some cases have some value, in some cases don't, but it's all underloaded to all hell. And in both cases, they're both just trying to sell you really easy exercise that's, just not challenging, and then coming up with some clever rationalization that makes you feel really smart for it. Um, yeah, I need to make a video on that, because it's funny. They are literally, these people are beefing. They're going back and forth. The kettlebell guys are bashing the bodybuilders. The bodybuilders are bashing the functional people, but they're the same thing. They're just like, they're both selling easy training, when in reality, more complete training could accomplish both of their ends so much better. But that would require actually doing hard things, and that's why the people pushing both ends of the spectrum have, 1 million followers, and I have 20K, right? But I'm not bitter, because you guys are higher in quality than the morons who follow like Dr. Mike or Functional Patterns or the Bioneer or any of these, people trying to sell you easy training. The reality is it's harder than they want to believe, and that doesn't sell. But for those of you who actually want to put in the work, you can do both really well. And obviously, the guy who asked that question, Lachlan, is an example of somebody who loves putting in the work and is, putting all of them to shame in terms of what he can do. Okay, let me get into my next question. Will the videos about Jefferson Curl stay members only? I'm Brazilian, so my English isn't very good. For the time being, I don't know what I'm gonna do forever. I'm trying a bunch of different stuff to just kind of see what works to make this, make some sense financially. YouTube's not really. I don't make a ton of money off YouTube. Obviously, this size, I don't really make much money off of ads. Most of the money I make off YouTube is off of getting people to buy either my books and programs, or better yet, to subscribe to coaching. So I'm trying to find ways to get some money out of doing the thing, while kind of indirectly using it to sell the stuff that I actually make money from. So that kind of made sense to me. I don't want to just ask you guys, hey, just give me money. I want to give like some real value. And I think there's a lot of value in the tutorials I have, and I feel like that's a fair exchange if that's something that you're interested in. So that's kind of how I was seeing that. But that being said, if it ends up not seeming like that's even worth it financially, I might just make them all free at some point anyway. Or if I win the lottery, or I get some super rich person to just say, you know what, I want you to live in my house and train me. And then I have no more need for money. Then obviously I just make it free as a service to the community. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at for now. I'm feeling out how to make this make sense from a financial perspective. Jack says, any tips to increase the Zercher squat? I mean, I think a lot of people don't do enough reps. A lot of people like to kind of max out a lot on Zercher squat, which is fun. I love doing that too. But you're going to get better at it, same as anything else, doing reps, more so than purely maxing out. I don't know if that's what you do, but that's something that I notice a lot. The other thing about Zercher squats relative to any other kind of squat, you can change the technique a whole lot. So if you just want to get your weight up, I mean, you can do a more hinge hybrid variation that's kind of more like a strongman stone lift with a barbell, to be honest, and get a lot more weight out of that. And there's more value for your posterior chain if you do it in that fashion. That being said, if you're trying to use the Zercher squat to develop your quads, you got to be kind of wary of the temptation to change the nature of the movement too much, because you can also make it a super quad dominant, very upright style squat, very much like a goblet squat. So you got to just make sure that you have a lot of play there to serve different purposes, and make it a very light exercise, very heavy exercise. You just got to make sure whatever you end up doing is serving your ultimate goals. But yeah, you're going to get typically the biggest thing I see is people just want to kind of max out a lot and don't want to do reps, because it is a little bit more uncomfortable for reps. But I mean, the reps are where you have a lot of potential to grow, you know? All right. Guys, I really apologize. My mouth is parched. I need to go get some water. Sorry about that. I should have planned this out a lot better. I was trying to get the kids out the door because they're going to have to play with mom for this, so I can be uninterrupted. But I'm going to like pull a natural hypertrophy now and sprint to the kitchen. I'm at least going to like show some shame about it that I'm like making you guys wait. I'm not going to be like, oh, if you know me, then like I'll take forever and come back. I'm gonna go real quick. Hi guys, got some water and I also got some mushroom soda or whatever. All right. Free Hate Speech, which is an interesting username, asks, is there any way to train the chest without smoking the anterior deltoids? I use them when training other muscles. They seem to be the limiting factor when I finally get to my chest. I mean, they tend to work together in most cases. Um, I'm sure you can find like if you mess with the range enough, I'm sure you can find an area where they have more leverage than the front delts do. That'd be a better question for these biomechanics guys, because I mean, I don't even, and I mean, honestly, I don't even care about chest that much. So, ask Jonathan Warren. I'm sure he'd talk your ear off about that. He loves talking about chest, and I'm kind of, it doesn't interest me. By the way, let me scroll down. Hey, I asked earlier, is this fan not bothering you guys? If it is, I'll turn it off. It it seems like it would be problematic, but I don't know if my mic is picking up because I don't understand how audio works. So I just want to ask, mushroom soda, the fucking the alive stuff. It's got reishi, chaga, and turkey tail, and it has apparently only 20 calories. That seems too good to be true, but it tastes kind of like a Diet Coke. So you guys can't hear the thing. All right, sick, because it's kind of hot out here. I should be wearing. Actually, okay. We'll do since it's hot. I should be wearing this wonderfully fuzzy new barbell apparel sweater since it's spend $99 and get a free hoodie sale at Barbell Apparel, but because it's September in California and hot as fuck, I'm not wearing a hoodie because I'd be sweating my ass off. I'm wearing the shirt, obviously, but I wore this for the first time last night. We went up to look at the stars with the kids. I brought the wife out to a place where we'd been like a long time ago when we first met as a little romantic evening. I mean, it's not that romantic with the kids there because they're obviously all yelling and like asking for treats and stuff. But they're cute, right? Anyway, it was a nice thing. So I finally wore it. It's very nice. It's very cozy, but I cannot wear it right now. But anyway, if you spend $99, they'll they'll give you a free hoodie, and every time you spend $99, you get another one. So if you want multiple, or you want to, get some free Christmas gifts for whoever. Anyway, I plugged it down. They're legit. Or I think they have the stealth ones, which are like lightweight hoodies. That works better for me because it doesn't get warm. It doesn't get cold enough for this for me here for quite a while. The stealth is a lot thinner. That's pretty good for like. It's kind of a cool day. It's crisp. You want something on, but then you're kind of hiking up a mountain with the kids, so you're gonna get a little sweaty. It's real versatile. I think the sale. Don't quote me on that, but I think the sale qualifies for that too. I don't have that one on hand though. Anyway, well, whatever. It's still in view, but whatever. I mean, all right, that looks kind of tacky. I mean, the bed isn't made perfectly anyway. Whatever. Fuck it. Shit. All right, let me get back up to where I was. All right, this guy says he's going to need to. Egan says he's going to need to leave for university tomorrow, so I'm going to get to his question right now. Yeah, good luck in university. I really hope university in Turkey is not a scam the way it is in America. My advice is just try to get into a something that's going to give you a good career track that pays well. Otherwise, I mean, it's kind of rough to do all that for a liberal arts degree. But anyway, dude, I appreciate your feedback, man. I yeah, that's why I'm happy to be doing this stuff. It's just, yeah, I get a lot of cool. It's cool to be able to help people around the world figure out stuff about fitness. So good luck in university, and I appreciate it, dude. All right, where are we? Where was I? Shit. Let me see how. All right. Do you have a stretching or mobility routine? Yes and no. I mean, like personally, I have something that kind of changes all the time. It's not. I'm not primarily a mobility coach. Like I got to be honest. If somebody comes to me primarily, like their number one like top thing that they want to do is just get more flexible. Like they want the splits, they want all that good stuff. I'm going to direct you to somebody else. I'm going to direct you probably first and foremost to my coach Lucas from Range of Strength. I mean, there are people who are better experts at that than I am. Where I kind of fall into this thing is I can get you a good bit of bang for your buck mobility and flexibility while giving you a really solid hypertrophy routine that gets you jacked while also getting you some of that stuff bonus. I think that's kind of my. I mean, I can go in multiple directions, but that's what I would say my best specialty is. So pretty much any program I have is going to have some bang for your buck mobility stuck into it, but it's not necessarily. I don't have any like get your front splits or get your side splits programs necessarily. The closest thing I have to it um, for my clients on my trainerize, I've got a program set up. It's called the it's kind of like a cutting program for advanced trainees, and it follows my philosophy that when you're cutting, you shouldn't be as focused on hypertrophy because if you're an advanced lifter, if you're a novice lifter, obviously you'll get new gains anyway. But if you're an advanced lifter, you shouldn't be focusing so much on hypertrophy while cutting because you're probably not going to be putting on muscle in a deficit. So that's the perfect time to focus on like non-hypertrophy goals like mobility and also strength. So the way I have it set up, you start with a very heavy lift, like some for whatever region you're doing. Like let's say like we have one day that's you start out with a deadlift. The way I have it set up, you get to pick your deadlift of choice, any heavy pull from the floor, trained in a strength fashion, and then immediately after that, we do mobility for every area most affected. So that includes like hips, hamstrings, erectors. Um, so that program has a lot of mobility in it, and you'll definitely get some good flexibility gains from that. But as far as like specialty, like get the splits programs, no, I don't have that per se. Does that make sense? Um, numbers. Yeah, a lot of compliments for Lachlan. You guys are yeah, he's a stud. These were not. These were definitely touch and go bench, but I mean, still, it's good. Yeah. Um, okay. Yeah. He's answering full body every day with a step loading progression. I mean, that sounds kind of crazy. You would need. I feel like you would need some rest. I mean, I, if you're doing full body, I mean, yeah, you would. I would think you would need some rest days in there. You can train every day, or you can do full body, but I feel like trying to do it every day might not work. But maybe you have some plan I haven't heard of, but that wouldn't necessarily be my first go to. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm gonna. Hey, please keep a record of the stream on the channel. Yeah, I'm trying to have this publish this like as a live, so people who didn't catch this live can pick it up later. Next question. I saw you doing wide, super deep behind the neck press. How does that differ from close grip and landing it on your upper traps? That's kind of just something I'm playing around with. Most of my lifting career, I've just done it like you said. I mean, I think that's going to be what I've felt. I do feel it more in the side delts, but that said, I mean, it's very light. I don't know if it's necessarily going to offer that much advantage. I'm kind of just experimenting with it and seeing what it does. Obviously, I was just answering a question in that reel about, why behind the neck pressing isn't done anymore. So obviously, I did something that people haven't seen before to get a little bit more spread on it. But I mean, the point of that video was that I think a lot of people don't have the mobility for that because we're not starting out the way people started out in the bronze era or the silver era with a bunch of pullovers to improve your overhead mobility, right? I feel like if we started out that way, maybe a lot less people would have issues with doing movements like that. That was kind of the purpose of the video. But yeah, it's something I'm playing around with. It has some potential. I feel like if I could get to the point where I could load it fairly heavily, it might be a really good shoulder developer. But I just haven't been doing it for that long, to be honest. I've seen a lot of people do. They'll do the whole press and then go all the way back down to the curl behind the back. I like to just split it up into like that. You've kind of seen where I stop, just because we don't do like curl and press combos at the front, so why do it to the back? I do the curl behind the back, and then I do the like deep overhead press, but I don't do them together just because it seems like it would be kind of training two different things there. All right, next question is, what is the truth about protein consumption? Please give your take. I heard Sean Nelawanj, and I know I'm butchering. I know of the guy, but I don't necessarily know how to pronounce his name. Good guy, but yeah, his name's it's got a lot of letters in it. I've seen him say you can build perfectly fine with just 0.06 pound per pound of body weight, no additional benefits beyond. Yeah, man, I think people you don't need as much as you think necessarily to build muscle, but you might very well need more than you think for body composition. Like staying lean, it is crucial. I don't track it at all, but I'm sure on a good day I'm getting well over 300 grams at about 200, like 208 or whatever body weight, and that's just because it makes not overeating so much easier. I mean, I'll just crush a pound of ground beef as a snack. Put 75 grams in a protein shake, no problem. Tons. And that makes staying lean super easy. You combine it with a little bit of fasting, and like you're on easy mode. Whereas if you're trying to eat your recommended number, that for a lot of people that's going to be staying lean on hard mode. And I also use like higher protein even on bulks, just kind of to control it, so I don't have to be like measuring out my calories on a bulk because that fucking sucks to not go over. So I try to keep it. I try to use that to kind of just as kind of a control factor. Thanks for making a lot of informative videos. As a beginner, it's helped me a lot. Small question, is your channel name a reference to the novel? I mean, not really. Like, here's the deal, man. I never, obviously, I mean, I forget what the original name of this channel was. The YouTube has been around forever. That was my Instagram handle, and like it was just a pun I came up with in 5 minutes. I made my Instagram because my wife made me stop liking political stuff that she didn't necessarily agree with on her Instagram. So she said I needed to make my own, so I would stop liking shit on hers. And then and then from that, I didn't expect I would grow to like 80K on there. Obviously, if I had, I would have probably chosen a different title. But it was just like it was a reference to power shrugs because obviously I like trading power shrugs. I mean, I read the books when I was a kid, but I kind of grew out of the libertarian phase. But around the time I could legally purchase alcohol, which I think it's appropriate. If you're not a libertarian, a lot of people go through the libertarian phase, but at some point you want to outgrow it, I would say. But yeah, now everyone thinks I'm a libertarian. Obviously, if I'd been planning to blow up on Instagram, I probably would have come up with a name that was more like relevant to like what I actually am about. But whatever. it is what it is now. I mean, yeah. Okay, so Crazy Wade says, thanks. I prefer not to give information about my situation, but your advice with the physical improvements and building a social circle, I made advances on that, and I forget to appreciate it. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah, you don't have to give me any more information. And for those of you just joining us, his previous question was about how to deal with depression and feeling lost. So without any further information, there's one thing I want to add, and that's to give yourself, like a lot of people today dealing with difficulties, I think you need to give yourself some slack for that, because we are actually going through very hard times in a lot of ways, and it kind of gaslights you, and not it's hard to accept that, because we have cell phones, we have all this stuff, and you look at back at like the Great Depression, it's all in black and white, grainy, whatnot, so it just seems like it'd be that much harder. But I mean, if you look at it economically speaking, it's not necessarily that much better now. Like, some things are different. There are less people that are starving now. Like still aren't that many people, at least in the West. Obviously, there's in one part of the world that I can't name, because the people that are doing it to them just signed a deal with YouTube. So I'm not gonna say who I'm talking about. But there are some people that obviously have issues obtaining food as a method of war, which is of course against the Geneva Convention. But whatever. I mean, when these people around the world then are running YouTube now, whatever. It's yeah. Anyway, point being, yeah, I got off on a tangent. Yeah. So point being, like, there are less people maybe lacking food in America today than there were in the Great Depression, but there are way more people homeless. Like back then, you might not know where your next meal was coming from, but you probably had a home, you probably had a family, a community, like people who cared about you. You weren't just like sitting in some like shitty apartment somewhere, or maybe sitting in your car. In a lot of cases, increasingly in these times, trying to figure out how you're going to make your ends meet. And then the other thing is, then I think it was a little easier in a lot of cases, because if the factory you worked at shut down because it was the Depression, like, okay, obviously that's not your fault. Okay, shit, man, my factory closed. Of course I lost my job, right? And then you go around all the factories in your hometown, and they're all closed too, or they're not hiring. Well, shit, man. I mean, like, what can you do about that? It's not you, right? But these days, everyone's saying they're hiring. Like, they're saying help wanted, right? Um, but like half those jobs being advertised, they're just doing it because they're trying to make it look like the company's doing better than it is, to increase their stock, or to kind of intimidate their employees into not into working a little bit harder, because hey, we're hiring. If you don't do your stuff, we're gonna fire you maybe. So it's really shady, and it's really gaslighty, and it's like it makes it feel like it's your fault, especially because you have all these people on Instagram, YouTube, talking about how like easy it is to make money in the modern age, and look at me, I've got all this and that. A lot of them are scammers. Maybe some of them actually have the money, some of them don't. But like it makes it feel like you're the failure in these days if things are not going the way they're supposed to for you. Whereas in previous times, even when it was hard, it was kind of clear that it's the external situation. So I think cut yourself a little slack and say, hey, man, I'm going through a rough time. I'm going to give myself I'm not. I mean, no one's coming to save you. You still gotta do whatever you can to improve your situation. But just don't be hard on yourself about your situation, because it's a little bit of a hard time we're going through. I'll kind of close on that as far as the depression question. Good luck, man. All right. Gambera, Lyle McDonald had a cool podcast about protein consumption. Basically, 0.08 per kilogram is basic for healthy people, but athletes may require more. In that sense, it's positive. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the exact requirements, but I mean, I know personally, just to regulate my appetite, I'm going to get more than probably anybody would possibly need. But I mean, I feel like protein is what makes you stop eating. Because I mean, probably historically, in most cases, if you were going to go get food reliably, that food would have a lot of protein in it, because prior to agriculture, it was kind of hard to go. Like, you would get lucky and you would find a tree full of fruit, but it was not an everyday thing. It wasn't you weren't going to be living on carbohydrates around the year in most areas of the world, some exceptions. So I think, you know, we would kind of, if there's anything that we're programmed to recognize as food and say, okay, we did it, we're good, we can stop eating, it would be something containing protein, right? That just a little tangent. Trying to get any advice to get the last reps in a 20 rep squat set. After 14, I feel like fainting, and 16 is my record. I mean, that's what's going to kind of separate whether you have that mindset or not. The best advice that I've ever heard for it, or not advice, but the best way to encapsulate it is something Tom Platt said. He said it's like scuba diving underwater, or like maybe not. I don't know if he said scuba diving, but it's like diving underwater. Like, you know, you can't stay there forever. You're not like, you can't breathe. This is not a place you can stay forever, but you want to stay there as long as you can and experience it while you can. And that's kind of what it's like. It's, you know, it's kind of a hard thing to do, but you got to kind of enjoy getting that experience you won't normally get, and just kind of see it in that light. And I mean, some people can turn that on and just like kind of have that saying yes to life. I think that's a little bit of the Nietzsche there, a little bit of the niche. Some people can say yes to life, and some people can't, but you got to try. And also just taking your breath, you know, just take your 3 breaths, take your 4 breaths, whatever. Take your nice little pause, and then maybe you can do another. And then another way to do it is just chunk it, man. You got to say like, hey, all right, this is 16. I don't know if I can get 20, but I'm gonna do 16. When you do 16, I don't know if I can do 20. I'm gonna do 17. You know, just get focused on that next rep, right? How do you do power shrugs so it doesn't interfere with other lifts? Great question. I do it on my back day or posterior chain day. I typically do it after all the other kind of serious big lifts on that day. So if I'm going to do a deadlift variation, I'm going to do that first. If I'm going to do something like a Jefferson curl, I'm going to do that first. Kind of get all that stuff out of the way, so everything afterwards is going to be like a little bit lighter. No serious like hinge or anything like that afterwards. But also not at the complete end of the workout. I'll still do like my pullovers, my pull-ups, whatever that stuff. But kind of all the serious lifts afterwards. Yeah, once a week is fine. these morons telling you need to train everything like 3 times a week, you're not going to get any progress. Let's see them try power shrugs. And yeah, they can do that. They can go ahead and do it 3 times a week. Okay, sure, buddy. Any accessory exercises to bring up Zercher squats? I mean, that would really depend on where you're, what type of Zercher squat you're doing and where you're failing at it. If you're doing any kind of like upright Zercher squat where it's very quad dominant, then any squat, including stuff like hack squats, are going to improve your Zercher squat. If you're doing more of a hinge hybrid, there's a lot of carryover with hack deadlifts, and they're a similar movement. So hack deadlifts, I think, would have a lot of carryover. But yeah, Zercher walks. I'm not a real big fan of loaded carries in most cases, but Zercher walks can be a good way to acclimate the elbows so that the pain there is not a limiting factor. And additionally, your one-arm Zercher variations, like your one-arm Zercher deadlift, which a little bit underrated, those could be a really great way to do like heavy overloads on your arm so that you kind of just really lock it in rock solid, and elbow pain or discomfort is never going to be a limiting factor for you again. That can also help. Okay, Free Hate Speech is asked, I tried doing a heavy single of behind the neck press, followed by 3 sets of 10 at 70% at that singles weight. On the last set, I failed on rep 7. Is my work capacity bad? Why did I fail? No, dude. No? That's like, you're supposed to fail. Like, you can't just keep doing rep after rep and you're never gonna fail. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's bad. Just, I mean, you're supposed to fail, right? Especially after 3 sets of 10. Yeah, like why wouldn't you? Nah, I think that's fine, right? Any plan of doing a home gym tour video? Not really. Like I don't have any kind of camera setup that would allow me to just like take a camera around. I'm not good at the like cinematography or whatever the fuck. Like this is my camera. This is the only camera that I've ever used on the on any of this stuff, and like most of it, it's the back camera. So um, if I ever get a social media manager, which um, is a possibility at some point in time, not like not that it's any, like so things might change, but I mean honestly that I need to get the hell out of LA and get a different place anyway, probably before that happens. Um, yeah. Uh, Good Jim said, I just want to say, while I haven't been fasting, I learned to be okay with being hungry, like you talked about, and have lost 70 pounds. Big congrats, dude. Like, 70 pounds is a long time. Like, I know for me, like, no matter how fast I'm dieting, like, it gets old after a while. That diet fatigue kicks in. So to stick with it for 70 pounds, good on you, dude. Congrats. What are the benefits of doing side pullovers? I've seen you do them a little bit in the past. Okay, so you get some mobility benefit. You're kind of sneaking sideways into that overhead position. You'll know if you've tried to do like snatch or like really overhead squats. Like the further out you are, the easier it is to get your arms kind of you know up into that overhead position. And the closer in, the more they're going to want to creep forward, right? So side pullover is kind of a way to kind of sneak into that range with weight, but moreover, the more the reason I do them, it's it's really good for the rear delts. You'll get a ton out of them for the rear delts. I actually feel like I get some side delts. I've been told this isn't possible. I've asked some biomechanics dudes. They've told me this isn't possible, but I feel like the lateral fibers of the side delt are firing a lot on them. Like I get a lot of DOMs there. There's something going on, I feel, but biomechanics fellas tell me that that is incorrect. So I'll let you be the judge. But it's also fantastic for the teres majors. Um, you get a cool stretch down your whole side. I just don't think it's doing that much for the lats. I feel like there would be a way if you get your torso at more of a down angle. I feel like there'd be a way to get your lower lats involved to a greater degree. Like if you wanted to get into the weeds of setup, you could make it a fantastic lower lat movement. The way I do them, not so much. It's more the rear delts and the teres majors. But I feel like there's actually some potential to make it a really sick lat movement. It would be a very like setup intensive thing. An average worker asked, "Hey man, love from your channel. My question is, since you mentioned in another video that you're a car guy, what's your dream car?" Honestly, like the one I have, I want to take. If I ever just get loaded, I would probably just like really fix up the Magnum. Maybe swap it to a 6.4. I ideally manual swap it because they I don't know why Dodge figured like, hey, there's going to be some dudes they're going to want to go ahead and buy a station wagon with 425 horsepower, rear wheel drive, all that. But nah, they're not. The guy who wants a 425 horsepower station wagon, he's not going to want a manual. There's no reason to put a manual transmission in those. So the only Hemi vehicle with a manual is the Challenger. So ideally get a Challenger transmission in there. I don't think I would. I don't think I'd want the Hellcat or anything because I don't need that much power. But maybe do a front end conversion. I would like to do a like same year Charger front end conversion. I think those look sick. Not the new like Hellcat Charger front end conversion, but like the '07 look. That looks sick. I've already got kind of that '07 Charger style hood scoop on there, so I'd have to just get some custom fabrication done, but just get a real clean, maybe some handling mods, maybe a little bit wider tires, and or I mean I've seen I don't like aftermarket rims for the most part, but the one that I've seen that makes it look good. I have the stock rims just powder coated black right now, but the only thing I've seen look good is the Viper rims. That looks pretty sick. Obviously, aftermarket, it's real easy to make a Magnum look ghetto for obvious reasons. So that'd be number one. Just get it like clean as fuck, and then manual swapped. And then I would also want a first gen Viper. Those are sick. Or maybe like yeah, I mean depending on how yeah, first gen Viper would be sick. Um, and then for the to kind of round it out, I kind of want an old square body Cherokee, like real lifted and all. That would be sick. That's probably not a good life decision. I mean, we already have an SUV. We have the wife's got a Forerunner, so we're pretty good on the capabilities there. But I would like a lifted square body Cherokee. I mean, I guess if we're getting into like dream cars, I'd take a '90s Land Cruiser. That would be sick. But yeah, if I had that'd be the fleet right there. That'd be the fleet. Um, yeah, I'm kind of. Oops, I missed where I was. Tips for increasing Jeff's curl mobility. I'm kind of stuck at the bottom part. I assume you mean like your depth isn't increasing anymore. So this this is not too much of a plug, but one of the videos that the tutorials that I just uploaded for the members is called the in-range Jefferson curl extension. Um, it's I think the best way to increase that. But I'll go ahead and explain it right now. What you're doing, you're getting into the bottom position of a Jefferson curl, okay? And you can do this Zercher, or you'll still need to be on a platform, or you can actually hold it in your hands, depending on what's more convenient. But get to the bottom position of a Jefferson curl with your legs straight, okay? Then bend them some to get more depth. Get down as far as you can, and then try to straighten your legs while keeping the bar as low as possible. It it works kind of like an elephant walk, if you know what that is. An elephant walk, by the way, you can do elephant walks with Jefferson curls. Just get to the bottom position and bend one leg, then the other. That actually works well too. But yeah, just kind of do a couple reps of like bending your legs and then trying to keep that depth while straightening out your legs. Again, that really teaches your hip flexors and your abs to fire a little bit more and kind of help keep you down there. That's been really good for helping me to increase the depth of my Jefferson curls. Got a full tutorial up, but whatever. If you guys, and then obviously those tutorials are for my actual clients. So obviously you'll get, if you want like actual help with that, sign up for training. But if not, I just described like what you can do, and so hopefully you can figure it out. Any other books in the pipeline? Not really, no. Um, the the ones that I have out, well, actually, there kind of is one, kind of not. So the ones that I have out, yeah, I always wanted to write old time lifts for modern lifters. I think that's just something that I felt like I needed to write. It's something, yeah. I mean, that's just kind of sharing my contribution, just like getting into all this stuff, but then looking at it through the lens of a modern lifter who's not just trying to, glaze everything that's old, but trying to figure out, okay, well, like what's the take home value here, right? So I really wanted to put that one out. That was kind of, I mean, obviously I wanted to make money off of it, but also, just something I needed to write. Same thing with the anti-fragile diet. Like it's like dieting can be so much easier if you use some of these tactics like that we've talked about here, like fasting, like um, high protein, but not really, not being super strict about which particular diet you use. I've stumbled upon a lot of, like, I think really valuable tactics to just make being lean just like easy and sustainable, because it is easier for me to be lean as a 36-year-old dude with 3 kids than it ever was when I was in my 20s. And it's like, okay, I got to share this, right? I just want to, yeah, I post on it, but I want to put it all in one place so that people can, benefit from this, and, hopefully, really help people, because it can be a lot easier than a lot of people make it, right? So these are both books that I felt like, okay, I need to put this out there so this is all in one place and people can have, this resource. And, obviously I want to make money off of it, but like that, I would have to be like, to make a living off like one-time purchases, I would have to be like at a much higher level in terms of reach and advertising. And I forget to mention them in most videos anyway, so it's not like I'm doing a good job of selling them. So yeah, it's not something that it's like, it's some nice passive income, but it's not life-changing money. So that's it. Yeah, I'm not trying to just keep cranking things out. There's nothing else that I can think of that I really want to, right? The only other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to try to make I'm going to put out like a free guide, like kind of free ebook that's a guide to scheduling your training, setting up your training as like a busy, time poor dad. So how to work with a really weird schedule. That I'm gonna put that out. Kind of it's one of these things that didn't make sense to me at first, but apparently you're supposed to do when you're doing like the social media, like fitness thing. You're supposed to have like some free stuff to like send people to, then I guess get them like kind of in your, what do they call it? They call it a funnel or whatever. And I've got a program set up along those lines, actually, on my Trainerize, that it's called the Busy Dad Program. It kind of works with the philosophy that I'm going to share. So it could kind of be a funnel to that, but also I think it's like, just I wouldn't like give you like a free preview and then you have to like pay to pay to see the good part. I would give you like the entire theory like for free, but then if you want to like see, just if you want to be like, okay, just give me the program and tell me how to do it, then you can sign up. But I would tell you like the whole theory on how to do this for yourself if you want to, if that makes sense. I gotta get on that and like put that out. I don't know, but then again, like with all this stuff, like I get advice from all these different people about, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. And like, some of it works out really well, some of it doesn't. So we'll see. But that would be something that I think would be a lot of value, because like I did have to kind of figure out how to make stuff work when I don't have a schedule that allows me to be training like 2 hours a day, 4 days a week or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, that would be probably, I would probably make it about like 15 pages. Maybe not even like, I don't know, 10 to 15 pages maybe. But yeah, that's the only other thing I can think of doing. My main focus is just on getting more coaching clients, really, and then obviously continuing to get my do the social media stuff. If we're just starting neck training, would you recommend starting with body weight, or is it okay to start with a 5-pound plate? Actually, plate loaded neck exercises are easier to scale than body weight, because if you're doing neck bridges, that's not scalable, right? It's relative to your body weight. And I hope you don't mean just like doing this like with your head, because that's not going to do shit, obviously. Yeah, man, I would, 5-pound plate is perfectly fine. You want to be careful with your neck, but ultimately you can, it's just like any other muscle. You want to start light enough to make sure you get the feel for it, make sure you're safe, and then just gradually add weight and you'll be fine. Some neck curls, neck extensions. Start at 5 pounds, see how that feels. If it feels like super easy, get crazy. Let's add 10 pounds. I'm doing a good bit more than that on some stuff, but it all depends on your starting points. It's just feel it out slowly, and if you hit that 5-pound plate for 30 reps, no problem, then maybe you can even add 10 pounds, right? Thanks for answering the 20 rep set question. Tuesday, I'll do my best to get 20 Zerchers. Okay. I actually have to change my advice. I thought you meant like 20 rep back squats, because getting through 20 rep Zercher squats is very different from 20 rep back squats. 20 rep back squats, it's that breathing squat game, right? You can make the set take as long as you need, taking breaths and kind of recovering. Zercher squats, you can't really do that as well, because you have no good rest position. If you're up at the top, like it's crushing your diaphragm. You're exerting energy to keep the bar up. Like Xerxer squats are harder at the top than back squats, right? Because you're kind of you are having to use more muscle because the bar still want to fold you over at the top. It's not just you're not just kind of supporting it purely on skeleton, right? So the top isn't and you can't breathe very well because the bar's crushing your diaphragm, right? So the top's not restful, but the thing is the bottom isn't. You can get more of a rest at the bottom by resting the bar on your knees, but the thing is every time you do that, that's a dead stop rep. So now it becomes more like a deadlift to get up. So either way you do it, you kind of fuck yourself a little bit. So my recommendation with Xerxer squats, you have to blast through them. You have to just kind of you're on the clock. You got to get your set done in about a minute, I would say. And you can take a couple pauses at the top to try to breathe, but they can't be that long, and you can maybe dead stop it on your knees to get a little bit of a longer break once or twice, but each time you do that, you're gonna have to break that bar all new again. So yeah, you just have to burn through that. Good luck. All right. Do you have a goal physique you're still working on? Drawing inspiration from bronze or silver era OGs? Um, I mean, I'm not going to look like exactly like any of those guys. Honestly, my goal physique a little bit is more like the Barney's Hercules, if you're familiar, except there's one area where, I don't know if it's like hypertrophy is possible. I don't know if I would have to atrophy one particular area a lot. I don't know about that, but actually that guy he was probably hung. It's just like back in the day. I guess the ethic. These guys were so sigma. Like the dude who posed for that statue is probably like, hey bro, hey, make me look really small because I don't want to distract. I don't want the boys to be distracted or have to see a big hanging doll. So just like make it look really small so the boys don't have to look at all that. Okay. And it's good. I got you, bro. Yeah. We don't want to see all that, right? That was the aesthetic back in the day. That was the ethic. Like they had so little concern for the opinion of women. They were just like, yeah, man, just make it really little so the homies don't have to look at all that, And it was just like, that is Sigma, right? But anyway, yeah, the Farnese Hercules, I think it's a good look for me because I've got kind of that wider waisted look, and that's kind of what I'm trying to move towards. I got the calves. Obviously, my calves are not nearly as good as his, but I got them up from where they were to the point where they're no longer like taking away anything. We get the biceps up a little bit, the forearms up a little bit, and then maybe cut a little bit harder next year. I'll be pretty damn close. That's about it. Mostly just want to look like me except bigger. Just kind of we're trying to get progressively more less unarmed dominant. I'm definitely not going to ever be arm dominant, but we're just trying to get. The arms is the fun part to grow. A lot of stuff. I'm like I don't care if my quads ever grow again or my chest or whatever, but I definitely want to just get the arms to continue growing. I'm kind of excited. I'm doing more forearm training this year, so I'm kind of excited to see how that goes. I want to really get the forearms looking kind of Popeye mode, but yeah, that's about it. Um, how was your day? Oh, pretty chill, man. It's not too. Just hit a little mobility workout in the morning and did a little bit of client stuff and yeah, pretty chill day. Thanks for asking. Opinion on finger extensor training with dedicated resistance bands. Sand buckets are cool, but those things are, yeah. So I've got the finger extensors from Golden Grip Shop, really good ones. I think they're really helpful for just elbow pain, wrist pain, just generally helping that. Another cool thing that they've sent me that I have yet to feature in a video, but it's sick actually. They have this device that you kind of sandwich your fingers between. It's plate loadable, so you can actually lift with your fingers like this. Um, it would probably not work for the video to run down and get it and show you guys. Um, you guys vote. Do you guys want to see it? I'll come back to this. You guys, if a ton of you say you want to see it, I'll run down and get it. It's pretty cool, man. But anyway, I'll let you guys answer and then I'll go to some other stuff. Damn it, I don't know where I was. I don't know where. Okay, do you think fiber is overrated? I don't know, man. Like that's something that has nothing. Like, I'll be honest, dude. Like, fiber has nothing to do with how you look or how much you lift. So I haven't done any deep dives into it. I know there are people that are perfectly healthy with no fiber, but I know there are a lot of people that seem to get a lot from it. So it's probably one of those things where, I mean, humans are crazy adaptable. You have some people that have, obviously, the Inuits, for example, live traditionally with very little plant food, so they wouldn't be getting any fiber, and they were perfectly healthy. And you can imagine that would be the model of pretty much anybody in the northern areas, like in the ice ages, for example. You had just massive megafauna running around, but it's cold. There's probably not going to be you would imagine, a ton of plant food. I mean, this is also, I'm not a paleontologist, but I would assume there would be a lot of times during, for example, the Pleistocene when it might have been hard to find, year-round like mangoes on trees all the time. So you might surmise that a lot of people would have been making it without fiber, and they presumably would have been perfectly fine. That said, it seems to be a big part of a lot of modern hunter-gatherers' diets, and seems to help with health. So I don't know. I'm kind of agnostic on the fiber question because ultimately it doesn't really seem to do much as far as like building biceps. So I'm not as motivated. But it's an interesting question. Oh God, Mr. Shrugged, I have the best question for you. Would you rather have a human body and a dog head, or a dog body and a human head? You already asked me that, dude. If you're gonna ask me like weird questions, you gotta at least make them creative. Yeah, I mean, if you do the like dog head human body, then you look like a Egyptian god or something, and like hopefully that people start. I mean, that's kind of a sick look. You look kind of dumb if you had a like a dog with a human head would look dumb. Um, yeah, get some good rest, bro. As far as the I hope my search squad answer was helpful, dude. Get some good sleep, bro. Alvis Presley asks, any advice on dating, asking women who you don't know on the spot? I mean, honestly, I, I think people overthink that part. Um, if you have a lot going for you, I mean, like a cold approach is always going to be kind of like, it's always going to be kind of hit or miss, because I mean, you don't know what's going on in her head, or like what she's looking for, what she's interested in, if she has some other stuff she's thinking about right now, or whatever the case may be. But I think if you have attractive qualities, it kind of doesn't matter what you say. If you just keep the conversation going long enough for what um, to get it to continue, and you'll be fine. I don't think it's one of those things where you're gonna fuck it up as much, because I mean most guys just never ask in the first place, especially in real life now. So if you don't have to be like James Bond to make it work. Funny story, like I'll give you a method that like 100% of the time that it has been tried, it has worked. Okay, um, so this wasn't a completely cold ask, but because I kind of had a feeling this chick was into me. But back at one of the gyms I used to go to way back in the day, this is this kind of, we'll call her like a kind of a little muscle cougar. Like she had a really nice, really like fit body, like very like kind of almost like a, I don't know, what are the chicks that the bodybuilding girls that do the like more emphasis on the legs, but they're like competitive, whatever those are. Kind of had that look to her, and I kind of thought she might be into me, so I made sure she was looking, and I searched her squat like 500. I think I did like 2 reps or whatever, and then I made sure she was looking, like just like Zercher squatted like 2 reps, and that was back when like nobody had ever seen a Zercher squat. This is like 20 like 13 or something like that. So no one even knew what that was. So I did that and then just like went and asked for a number. I'm pretty sure I like stumbled over every word I said because I was just out of breath from search squatting, but she still gave it to me anyway. We proceeded to see each other. So yeah, it was successful. So but yeah, I was not suave. I was not like I didn't say anything good, but that method works. Every single time it's been tried, it has worked. That's probably the only method I'm aware of. It 100% of the time it's tried, it's been worked, or it's been worked. God, yeah. See, I can't even talk to you guys, let alone women, but it still works. Okay, so some people want to see the finger extension thing. Any advice for someone trying to bench 315 for the first time? Yeah, I got you, bro. This is some obscure advice you're probably not going to hear anywhere else, but I think it may work for you. I'm assuming you're stuck maybe like around 275, 300, somewhere like that. Try doing decline for maybe a couple months. Get your decline bench weight up to maybe like 335, 350, something like that. You could also do the arch floor press that you've seen me do. They're same thing as decline. Just get your weight on that well above your target weight on flat bench, and then transition back and see how much of it you keep. And I think that that overload, getting used to handling heavier weights, will definitely help you get there. Now, I don't think that is it's probably not going to work to get you to 405. There's a limit to how far you can do that, but that actually is a pretty good little method to get to 315 for the first time. Do you still use double progression? Yeah, that's how I do most of my programs. I mean, to the extent that I don't just kind of like make up what I'm going to do on the spot or like go off program. I try to do that myself, but it's what I have my clients do. So it's what I recommend. So yeah, I like double progression. It's always a struggle to make myself do what I am supposed to do, but that's like if someone other than me is asking for a program, that's most likely what I'm going to give them. Yes. Hey man, I train swimming, martial arts, calisthenics, basic weightlifting. How do you add silver exercises? Um, I mean, it's not really any different than just planning weightlifting around all those things. You just want to make sure that they're not interfering too much. So typically for the grapplers, you said you're doing martial arts. Typically for grapplers, the program I most often give to grapplers. Sorry, I was shaking the computer with my leg. It's a 3-day-a-week full body split that just includes, in addition to some more basic stuff, it includes some good old school exercises like pullovers, Jefferson curls, Zercher deadlifts, and also some neck work. So obviously that's going to be important if you're a grappler. And the reason I do like 3 times a week full body is because that way you're not just completely annihilating one area like you might if I in a lot of my other splits, if you run like Silver or Space Marine or whatever, you're gonna have days where like your posterior chain's not functioning real good because we just hammered on that one day. So I try to avoid that by spreading it out throughout the week, so you're not just completely annihilated in any one day, but you're still getting the benefit of all that. But I mean, that's kind of the same as any any programming around athletics is going to kind of be the same. You just have to make sure that you're not too beat up to um, actually function, in your practice. Now, there's another way you can do it. One of my guys is an MMA guy, real cool guy. He's very very hardcore. He has a little bit of a different schedule, so I actually have his set up differently. He wants to train back to back on the weekend. So he'll train like 3 days in a row. His big days are kind of like 3 days in a row. And I use a split that I tend to like to use a lot, like posterior chain, quads, abs, calves, stuff like that. The second day, and then, posterior chain, like upper, not upper body, but like basically push day plus arms, and then anterior chain, quads, abs, hip flexors, all that good stuff, calves. Uh, so these are all 3 back to back, and then I have them do like some forearms and neck stuff on other days. But I have this kind of clustered as far away in the week from his hardest sparring sessions, because like he's got kind of an asymmetric schedule in terms of his MMA training. Uh, so we want to kind of cluster that, and then have a couple break days that are easier before, where he's doing some more technical work, and he can do some technical work, and then like hit some like forearms and grip and stuff. It's kind of a barrier between that and the harder days that would knock him out, so that he's fresh for his hardest like sparring sessions, if that makes any sense to you guys. So there's more than one way to skin the cat, but you're basically just trying to make sure that you're not too jacked up from your lifting to actually do your sport at that time. But yeah, what I typically give to, I mean, jiu-jitsu is the most popular thing, so typically, what I described, the kind of the full body, just incorporating some of these more mobility and comprehensive strength, incorporating movements. Sorry, um, is going to be the way to go if you want to actually just see exactly how I would do that, and also get my advice, feedback, form checks, all that good stuff. My coaching is only $59 a month. You'll get the exact program I'm talking about, plus obviously access to me. And I'm trying to do like group calls on there as well, when people are interested and available. But no pressure. That I gave you the kind of the idea, I hope, in answer to this question anyway. If that makes sense. Okay. But yeah. And before I get off that, I do want to say you definitely should add the silver exercises. Like, I mean, you want to do like grappling. I mean, yeah, you should. Not that anyone did Zercher deadlifts back in the silver era, but it's so sick for. Well, actually, no, the Soviets were using it back in the black. You see the black and white footage of the Soviets doing Zercher deadlifts, and you should too. Great exercise. Swimming, yeah, man, you want to do pullovers 100%. Definitely want to do pullovers. Actually, yeah. This stuff's definitely good for athletes, 100%. Recently got interested in arm wrestling, not competing myself, but how they train to make their forearms huge. Any forearm, hand, finger training tips and philosophies. Man, I'm learning from them too. I suck at arm wrestling. Every time I get drunk and arm wrestle people, I've made them. I always I get drunk, go to the. I got a buddy who's God. You talk. So okay, some people are different genetically. This guy is just a unit. Like he's 300 pounds, but he doesn't look. His forearms and calves and quads are huge. But apart from that, he doesn't look jacked. He just looks normal at 300 pounds. He's like 6'2", maybe 6'3", maybe. He's tall, but he just looks like he's supposed to be 300 pounds. Anyway, just massive forearms. Like if we could get this guy to just do bodybuilding hard, he would be like, he would nuke the FFMI. He would just like, he would be a unit. But he doesn't like, he doesn't like to do bodybuilding, and he doesn't really like to push sets to failure. But anyway, yeah, I'll get drunk and go try to arm wrestle him and some other like units, and I'll end up with like tendonitis for the next like month. So I'm terrible at arm wrestling. So I don't know shit about arm wrestling. But I am trying to do the little what do they do, like I saw this Filipino dude who's like on Instagram. He's like not a huge guy, but he's got like the forearms, like he looks like a fucking Popeye cartoon. And I saw him doing the little thing that they do. So I'm like, I got to do this. So I've been doing that every week, and I'm doing little wrist curls. And obviously, you guys know I like the Chuck Sipes wrist curls; those are sick. But I don't know shit about arm wrestling, man. And I mean, my grip kind of sucks too. I'm known for my one-hand deadlifts, but that's all hook grip. Like my fingers are, you can see my fingers are long and skinny, so they're like ropes. Like I can tie some shit up, and I can tie a knot, and then just like it holds on to shit. That's kind of what hook grip is. But as far as going like, I'm not that good, man. My like double overhand PR on deadlift is 405. So I pull more one-handed with a hook grip than just my grip strength. I need to work on it, but it's something that's kind of an old man strength thing. Like old dudes a lot of times have good grip, so I know if I once I'm washed up everywhere else, if I want to get into grip when I'm like 45, I'll still be able to do that. I suspect. So I got so much I want to do that's kind of on the back burner. Oh man. Oh boy. All right. Somebody asked the question that, listen, brother. I'm not going to say even what question I'm referencing, but look, dude, like a certain people that you're asking about just did a deal with YouTube. Like they're watching what we say. I'm not going to answer that question. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I try to, yeah, I mean, this there's a limit to what we can and should talk about in certain platforms, man. I mean, not a good idea to speak about such things. Be nice if we had like complete free speech where we just all talk openly about this stuff, but that does not seem to be the case, unfortunately. Yeah. How can I don't know what you're referencing, dude. Yo, Unk. Yeah, I guess I am an Unk. Yeah, well, I mean, you can kind of see the grays in my beard when I haven't shaved or gone to the barber. I don't, yeah, I'm not trying to look homeless. I'm not trying to do the GBS thing where if I just don't shave and cut my hair, my triceps will grow. I get busy, you know. Um, can we see a 22K run from you for 22K subscribers? No. Well, actually, okay. Um, huh. I mean, if you guys, if one of my books sells 22,000 copies, I'll be happy to do a 22K run or, yeah, I'm not, yeah, I'm not just, yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of, I mean, I don't actually hate cardio. I just don't have time for it. I wouldn't, I mean, if I could just, I mean, train all day and I could just run, I like running. I mean, running's fun. I like activity. I like being outside. I like movement, but yeah, yeah, 22,000. If you buy one, if any of my books gets to 22,000 sales, then I'll, I'll definitely run 22K for sure. Um, yeah. Would you rather have a world record 4-inch deficit deadlift or a world record kneeling barbell overhead press? Um, yeah, kneeling barbell overhead press because yeah, overhead press is sick. Yeah, definitely. We're going to the weightlifting honor. The way you coach double progression, um, like 3 by 5 to 10. Do I stop each set at 10 reps max or just go to failure each set? Like 12, 9, 10, 9, and only add weight once all the sets hit. All right, so if you're running one of my programs, usually I'll set the expectations as far as what to hit for each set. Sometimes I'm a little casual with it, but yeah, typically I'll tell you if you're going to failure, like 1 rep in reserve, whatever the case may be. Typically, what I'll say is, like if I told you to go to failure on the set and you don't, and you were using this example of 3 sets of 5 to 10. If I told you to go to failure on it and you didn't hit failure by 10, I want you to keep going until you hit failure, but then just for the next set add weight, or next time you do this add weight, right? Add weight until you get to the back in the target rep range, and then obviously whenever you know just add weight to get yourself back into that target rep range. But that doesn't mean you should cut any one set. Still, like take the set to whatever I told you to, whether it be 1 rep in reserve, 0 rep in reserve, failure, just for next time. I don't think. Well, yeah. If you see the way I program, it should make sense. Usually, I set the expectation. I try to do a pretty good job of setting the expectations in the little comments or whatever. Can you swap out the regular squat for Zercher? Yeah, definitely. Just keep in mind like what your training objective is, and just make sure your exertion technique targets that, right? So if you're trying to hit quads with it, probably better to do a more upright quad dominant squat, or you can use a more hinge hybrid style to get more posterior chain involvement, more back involvement, and more carryover to strongman style events and things like that. So yeah, it's a great, but I mean, then again, with the back squat too, right? You can make the back squat like a super low bar, posterior chain dominant powerlifting style squat too, and then you're kind of doing the same thing. I think like the degree of flex, it's easier to do that with the exertion squat than the back squat without crazy technique modifications. But yeah, just make sure that you're actually targeting what you think you're targeting, if that makes some sense. Guys, I've been meaning to ask you, if I get the silver era, how can I contact you, through text or what? Also, can I ask for help on programming? I'm assuming you mean silver or space marine. I mean, so I've got that one up on the Ganbrew method app. So if you buy it, it's just a one-time purchase. It's just kind of a one-time purchase. There's not really anything that comes with it. If you want a program in that style from me, like with messaging, with actual help with coaching, I offer that service on Trainerize, $59 a month for like the basic membership, which covers form checks, messaging, help with making substitutions, all that good stuff. You would get that. It's basically $9 more than the one-time purchase, but obviously it's a monthly subscription. So a lot of people want the one-time, just one-time purchase. But if you do, I mean, you kind of get the program, and it's yours to do as you will with. Yeah, you are completely dad-filled. I assume that's a good thing. Yesterday, I took my middle kid to the she's 3. I took her to the grocery store to help me get stuff for our little family outing, and we had to go to the grocery store and then a sandwich shop in the same parking lot, but very far away in the parking lot. So yeah, she asked me if she could ride in the trunk of the wagon, and I like to let her live a little bit of the life that I lived as a kid growing up in the '90s. So I agreed. I let her ride in the trunk, and we have her little helmets in there for riding her scooters. So she just like spontaneously like puts on her little helmet in the trunk while I drive her through the parking lot riding in the trunk. It was really cute, and I was playing Creed. So yeah, there's a little bit of dad element there. Get us some Ghost here, keep my energy levels up. They got a new raspberry flavor. Very tasty. Are there any great upper trapezius movements that don't involve heavy spinal loading? I'm wary of power shrugs and deadlifts due to an old lumbar injury. In theory, Kelso shrugs are supposed to be a good exercise. I'm not aware of anyone who's ever actually built big traps from Kelso shrugs. There are plenty of people that have big traps who like Kelso shrugs because they like the theory. But I'm not aware of anyone who actually did Kelso shrugs to get them that big. It seems to be kind of like the smart person's answer, and it may very well work in practice, but it just seems, I don't know, it's just like what everyone always says. But I haven't seen anyone start out with like small traps and then add Kelso shrugs and then suddenly have big traps. It might work, maybe someday I'll experiment with them, but maybe Kelso shrugs would be your best option there. Theoretically, they work. They definitely work really well in theory, and they might work in practice too. Yeah, you guys buy books, make me run 220K. Yeah, if you guys do that, I'll run as far as you want. Or should I offer this? If no, I would say if 22 of you signed up for my basic coaching membership right now, I'll do it. But I want you guys to, I want people to sign up for that because they're like actually interested and want to get some value out of it. I don't want a bunch of people to buy from a subscription they're not going to use. This is a good question. I was wondering myself. Have you tried using a trap bar? I mean, yeah, I don't like it. Any tips for smaller creators? Biggest one is like be really clear on why you're trying to do the social media thing in the first place. Like, do you have a really good reason to be doing it? If it's just a hobby, then I would say just post what you want to post and interact with who you want to interact with, and let that be that. It can be very fun that way. I mean, if you're trying to grow and make money in it, it's not necessarily. I don't know. That's it can be hard to monetize while keeping it what you want it to be, if that makes sense. Like I've kind of gotten lucky in the sense that it just kind of like blew up to the point where even though I don't know like anything about business, just I can kind of I get enough free advertising that I can kind of make stuff work despite not like having no idea about like what a sales funnel is or any of this like business and marketing shit. And so I can just kind of play to my strengths. Like I know this stuff. Like once I get to talking to people one on one, talking on the phone, whatnot. Okay, we're talking exercise. I got this. I know how to do all that. And I get people good results, and that works out. But as far as like trying to figure out the business models and stuff, I feel like it would be a very hard road to hoe. If you didn't just kind of already blow up. That being said, if you have kind of if you have a niche problem that you can solve for a niche type of person, you can make a ton of money, right? And the thing is, like, I wouldn't even know how to tell you to grow honestly on social media, just because even it's changed so much since I had a lot of my initial growth. What worked in terms of reels, it was a lot easier, to be frank, when I first kind of blew up on Instagram. Not that I don't think I had good quality stuff. I think like the information I was putting out was good. The stuff I was doing was cool, but they changed their algorithm a bunch. You kind of have to play the game in terms of stuff like music, and like you have to get your length right. If you want to do anything longer form, you have to put in the video game footage to get the Zoomers to pay attention. I don't know. That's probably not. Yeah. Okay. So let me get that all into like a concise tip that I want to make. Okay. Just do what you want to do with it. Play the game in terms of the algorithm in any way that you're cool with. Like there's some stuff that works for the algorithm that I'm happy to do. Like for example, call outs, like things that are going to create controversy. I'm happy to do that because there's a lot of people that need to be called out. I know that's going to get views, but every time I do that, I have a legitimate point that I'm trying to make. I think it's helpful to the community to call out what I'm calling out. Right. So do the things that you know will work in the algorithm that you feel good about and that you want to do. But just other than that, just kind of do what you actually want with it. And if it goes somewhere, good. If it doesn't, be okay with that too. Does that make sense? I hope that was helpful. Yeah. Seated, chest supported upright rows, front raises. I don't know about front raises, but if we can't load the spine, yeah, we gotta do what we gotta do. Yeah, these are good suggestions. Have you practiced fitness dailies? No, I don't like that idea. If you're doing something worthwhile, you're almost always going to need at least a day of recovery before you do it again. I'm not a huge fan of that idea at all. It sounds cool in practice, and if you're thinking about the guy that I'm thinking about, I was just see really light weights, and I don't think that's going to work for most people trying to build their physiques up. I would much rather you do something real, something serious, something that works, a couple times a week than try to do something every day. Because now that being said, I can, if you want to do something every day, I can fill you in. Like I had this guy this guy who was a gold miner in the Yukon. He's living on station, like out in the remote wilderness, just gold mine. He works in a gold mine all day. They have a employee gym, employee cafeteria, and then they're out in like whatever, Alaska, right? So he's got fuck all else to do. He wanted to train 7 days a week and sometimes twice a day. Okay, cool. I got you. I can fill that in with useful stuff, but we're not going to be repeating the same thing over and over again. Like, if you can do something, I mean, other than even forearms, you're going to get to a point where you're going to need probably more than, you probably can't do it every day. I tend to think if you're doing something useful, you're going to need at least a day of recovery, if not more. I do sitting behind the head press with a bench sit. Looks like my traps like it. Okay, yeah, you know what? Seated overhead work. Good option. Good option. Yeah. Okay. I think seeing Dancing Muscle Man may have read my mind a little bit as far as who we're talking about, who does fitness dailies. This may sound weird, but where did you get the jeans, gray shoes, outfit idea from? I didn't get it. Was never an idea. It was just like what I was wearing. So as far as the Vibrams, I started wearing them. I was on a vacation in Hawaii way back in the day, and I had water shoes because we were going to be doing some snorkeling, but I was just kind of wearing them around because I wasn't sure if we were going to go in the water or what we were going to be doing. And I started like kind of hiking in the water shoes, which are of course very thin. And I realized I really like this. It's more fun. I can feel like the terrain and everything. That got me into barefoot shoes, so I bought some Vibrams, and I've kind of never gone back. So I've been a kind of a diehard Vibram wearer, like too diehard, honestly. Like I'm fucking stupid. I kick myself for this every day, man. Because I mean, I could have gotten sponsored by Palooza, which is Mark Sisson's company. Because I mean, damn, man. Like he sent me some, and I had a hard time switching over to them because they're a little bit thicker, so you don't get as much ground feel. They weren't like I like to do a lot of hikes, and at that time I was like hiking a lot in the mud with my two kids, and like the Vibrams, I get a little bit of, it's almost like having traction control for your feet. You get a little bit extra feel before you slip, and you can kind of save yourself. I was just so much more confident hiking with them in the mud than even, unfortunately, the Pullovers, because they're a little bit thicker. Now, I do recommend the Pullovers, but the thing is, Mark is he's got an endurance background, so he wants this to be something that you can run over broken terrain for miles and miles and miles without getting bone bruises and stuff. And they're fantastic for that. And like when I used to go to the rifle range or wherever, really, rough rocks and stuff, and it was just too uncomfortable for Vibrams, I would wear the Pullovers. They were great, but I just never like switched all the way over to them, which probably I know I could have got a Pullover sponsorship, because Mark is a great dude. He actually cares about fitness and everything, even though he's like ridiculously multimillionaire. He's out there. Yeah, I met up with him at Temescal Canyon before it burned, unfortunately, for a hike to kind of go promote the Pullovers, but also he wanted to be out there meeting the community. Really great guy. And you know, and Vibrams do not give a fuck about influencers. They don't want to sponsor us. They don't give a fuck how loyal we are, because it's just this huge company, and the little Five Finger branch is just like it's a little subsidiary they don't give a fuck about. Actually, Mark tried to he tried to actually buy the Five Finger brand off of them, because he was a long time user too, so he gets it. But just for what I'm doing, like steep hikes with kids, God, it's hard to get away from the Vibrams. I love them, man. And then the jeans. I was just wearing jeans like when I would sneak out to do like workouts, because I started working out in the parking lot during the lockdowns, in 2020, which was the same time my first kid was born. So I was just doing dad workouts real quick while the kid's napping. So I'm wearing my jeans, and they're of course barbell apparel, so they stretch as much as I need. I can do everything. So that's just kind of that's how that whole thing started. It was just what I was wearing. And at that time, I had like friends and family following me, right? But then that kind of as I blew up on Instagram, I kind of realized, okay, every video I get, I get you know 5 people asking me why I'm wearing jeans, so that's free engagement. So I kind of stuck with it, and I like it. I don't like athleisure. I don't want to be like wearing Alpha Lead or like Gymshark or some shit. That's obviously not something that I'm too into. So I kind of made it my thing, but it was never planned out. It was just kind of like what I happened to be wearing. Yeah. And now, yeah, now it's kind of stuck. Where were we? I'm glad you think it has aura, though. I appreciate it. Is there a certain percent over your deadlift you should be aiming to hit your power shrugs? I mean, I don't do certain percentages. I do think you should have a pretty good deadlift before you even do them. Like, I think you should be deadlifting like 500 pounds before doing power shrugs, just because you need to make sure your bracing is solid. But once you're there, it should be pretty heavy. I mean, mine are probably, I mean, my max. I pulled a 585 like the other week, and my best not my best weight, but like the best range that works best for me. I've gone up to like 9 plates, but the range that works best for me is around 7 plates. So we're like adding a plate, at least a plate on your max deadlift, but in some cases it could be more, it could be less, but they should probably be pretty heavy. So okay, so we're talking about the sober fitness guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that guy. He's got like amazing aesthetics in his video. He's like, I'm kind of bitter and jealous because he's working out with like sequoia trees in Northern California, and he looks like he's living this like wonderful life, and everything is just so nicely produced, and he does all the shit that I can't do, like having like well edited videos and like making it all look aesthetic. But then I see him lifting like tiny weights, and it's like, you did not build that physique doing what you're doing. Like, no way. Not like little, oh yeah, well, I do barbell rows every day. You do it with like not even 135 pounds. Like, what are you doing, guy? He did not build his physique using what he's showing. Now, does that mean, am I calling him a fake natty? No. He could be, he's in the category that I call fake workout natties. I could totally believe, like, what's his name? The old dude. I mean, older than me. Paul Sklar. He's another one that I would call like a fake workout natty. These are a category of people that, I'm not saying you couldn't achieve that physique naturally. I'm saying that what they show on Instagram would not build that physique naturally. Now, if it came out that Paul Sklar's secretly, sneaking into the gym and doing power shrugs once a week, and he's doing real training, just like the stupid little combos he shows on Instagram are not the totality of his training, I totally believe he could look like that naturally if he's just super disciplined with his diet. Same thing with the sober fitness dude. Like he has a very naturally achievable physique. It's just like, okay, it's naturally achievable, but not with the stuff you're showing. If you're doing, if you just have light weights on there for demonstration purposes, okay, right, whatever, man. But what you're showing, I don't think you look like that from what you're showing, man. I mean, not that he's huge or like not naturally achievable. Just, I mean, you gotta eat. you can't do like 3 exercises like every day, and that's all you do, and you're doing with baby weights. I mean, no intensity. No. And again, wonderful aesthetics. I got it. I wish I had his skill with the camera and all that stuff. I wish I had his damn sequoia tree pull-up bar. That's amazing. That's the life I want to have. I'm jelly as fuck. Okay, um, but yeah, yeah, no. How do I transition to squats from the Smith machine to free weight squats at 35 plus 10 right now? Would I have to start free weight bar with 0 weights? Yeah, you're probably overthinking it. I would just start with the empty bar on free weight squats and see how that feels, and just add slowly, and just kind of see it, work into it. I mean, when you're first doing an exercise, it's always good to start with the empty bar and work up. I mean, I'm talking shit about lightweight, but obviously you have to start every exercise light and work up and see where you're at. Do you recommend rotational work for the obliques? Absolutely. And this is one where, surprisingly enough, because it's kind of hard to set up. That's if there's one machine I wish I had, it's actually that rotational one that you just sit in and rotate your torso, because that's hard to set up without equipment. I've found some ways to do it, but it's kind of challenging. So yeah, feel free to use that machine, man. Or you can do like windmills and stuff like that. But really, honing in on that. Wood chops work too, but that works better with like a cable setup. But yeah, definitely recommend rotational work for the obliques. Absolutely. So our singing dancing muscleman saying, yeah, it seems like fitness dailies would be exhausting, but allegedly inmates perform push-ups and bodyweight squats every day for months on end, so it depends on the total amount of training. And I mean, honestly, I think it feels good. It seems like part of a nice lifestyle that would be nice to live and have. You'd feel great every day. I don't think it would work, and I don't really buy into this like inmates thing, because if you look at real inmates that don't come out and take steroids, like they're jacked, but they're not. They don't look in any way exceptional, and most people are not. Most inmates are not necessarily jacked either. So I don't. I mean, I'm not a huge believer in all that. I bought a book. Congrats. I think I'm the only girl that can do Zercher straight leg deadlifts and squats. Oh, congrats. No, there is, what's her name? Tasha Louie. I hate to bust your bubble, but Tasha Louie on Instagram has done straight leg deadlifts and with, I think, like 155. So if you can beat 155, then I think you would have the record at it. But appreciate you purchasing the book, and it's still a very cool feat. And yeah. Well, thanks for purchasing. And yeah, I mean that I think the Zercher straight leg deadlift is record is a lot more open there. But I mean, Tasha's kind of a beast, so you'll have your money's worth trying to compete with her. But still, that'd be a cool thing to compete for. Yeah, the guy said he built his arms from dumbbell curls. I mean, yeah, dumbbell curls work, but if you look at the guy doing them, he's just like doing lightweight and he's no intensity. I mean, again, he could off camera do like serious reps, but I don't know, he just looks like he's out for a little walk in the garden. Man. I don't see that lack of intensity doing anything. But again, like he could have off camera workouts that are a lot more serious, And again, like we got to in the first question, it like since the very beginning, the fitness industry has always been about selling you easy training because that's easier to sell. Again, the light dumbbell system. This guy, your sober fitness is kind of doing the light dumbbell system, right? Just lightweight is. I'm gonna do a lot of reps. Like, well, I'm walking through my beautiful, lovely sequoias, having a nice day. No intensity. Yeah, selling easy, easy training is kind of the business model for the fitness industry, unfortunately. But maybe I'm just bitter because I want to live by redwoods. Closest redwoods to me are in Big Sur. What's it called? Julia Pfeiffer Burns State Park. It's actually sick. It's got a sick waterfall too, but that's like a 5-hour drive for me, unfortunately. In a book a while back, and I usually do 2 exercises for 30 to 40 minutes twice a week, and add some exercise. People notice. Yeah, I mean, you can get a lot out of. I mean, if you do a good training session, 1 will put on muscle, 2 will definitely put on muscle. I mean, the idea that you need to work out super high frequency, that's kind of the latest trend, and I'm not a proponent of it. I mean, that said, I mean, the more you can repeat a workout and recover from it, the better. So, if you're doing something like arms, like biceps, that you can recover from fairly quickly, yeah, doing it like, 3 times a week is going to be good, but you don't need crazy high frequency. I had a couple questions that were left on the post I made. I'm gonna try to get through some of them as well. Feel free to kind of riff on those, and we'll see. Which will come out first, your future training app or George R. R. Martin's book? Well, I don't think that the Winds of Winter is ever going to come out. George can't seem to get it done. So my app will come out first, and it should already be out, honestly. Like when I signed up with Trainerize, I paid for the option to get a custom branded app. It would just be Trainerize, but like with my with my, what do you call it, like with my like graphic on there and my name, it would be like I don't even know what I would call it. But yeah, so I actually paid for the option to have a custom branded app. So if you download it from the App Store, it's going to have like its own name. It's not going to be called Trainerize. So it would technically be my app, but it would just be Trainerize, just with my kind of with my own graphics. I would have to actually find like a graphic designer or whatever the hell to produce like icons or whatever, kind of a like imagery brand, like corporate brand imagery for me. I don't know if that's obviously this is something that I paid for, and I just have never actually gotten around to trying to find a graphic designer to come up with what my logo or whatever it's going to be, or what I would even call it. So at some point I'll do that, and then I'll have a custom branded app technically. But if you're asking if I'm ever going to have an AI app, fuck no. I know some people that I like have done those. I completely disagree with those. I am not a fan. And here's why. It's not just that I'm a Luddite. I hate technology. Here's the thing. If you go in and try to figure out everything for yourself, cool. You're getting reps on learning yourself, learning what works for you, like figuring out what works for you in the gym. So you're learning that way, right? So if you don't have anyone to ask questions to, you're just figuring it out for yourself. Maybe you get it wrong, but you're learning, right? If you hire a coach and you don't know what to do, you can ask the coach. And if it's me, at least, I mean, some guys are just going to say, do it my way, because I mean, obviously, probably if you get Paul Carter as a coach, it's not going to go too well when you ask questions, right? But if you ask me, I'm going to give you the why. I'm going to tell you what I think is best, but I'm going to explain why. More often than not, I'm going to give you options. I'm going to tell you, you can do it this way, or you can do it this way. Here's what you would get if you did it this way. Here's what you would get if you did it that way. I recommend this way, but if you have a strong opinion, we could try it your way. So you'll get kind of pushed in the right direction, but you also get the reasons why. So at least you're learning from someone who hopefully has some idea what they're doing. I hope I have some idea what they're doing. But either way, you're getting you're learning something from a human. Whereas if you're kind of just asking Grok or Chat GPT what I should do here, you're not really getting anything out of that that's going to make you better at training, right? So I would rather you either just figure it out on your own and just maybe you buy a program, just to you can buy a program from somebody and see how they would program things, and then if it doesn't seem right to you, figure it out on your own, what to do to change it. Become the subject matter expert on your own training, right? Or again, you could hire a coach and learn from a human, hey, this person that you think knows what they're doing, okay, how would he approach that, right? And yeah, I mean, I think AI is the worst of both worlds, just kind of just giving you an easy answer without really helping you learn anything. So I don't like that. I'm never going to do the AI thing. I'm going to kind of stay old school, and I'm actually trying to trying to make it, I'm trying to actually, be a coach, not just kind of sell you something and then not do anything about it. Now, in a lot of cases, people, will sign up and then kind of go ghost, and that, you can't make everybody actually, use their subscription, but it's kind of like a gym membership, honestly. A lot of people sign up for the gym, but if it was just the people that go to the gym wouldn't make nearly as much money. But that can't be helped. But as far as the people that sign up and actually ask questions, send me their videos, do their workouts, get feedback. Yeah, I like doing that. I like answering questions. I like talking to people about this stuff. And if you actually use the service, you use everything you're paying for, then I'll give you a pretty good value for your service, and hopefully you learn a lot more from me than you would from Chat GPT. So that's that, and I just there is something to the human interaction. There's even just doing online coaching purely through apps. It's a little bit, I don't know. It's not. It lacks something. So I've been trying to incorporate more, even for the like the lower level membership, which still has messaging with me and everything. But it's all app based. That it's still not quite enough. So I'm trying to do more like group calls so we can actually just talk to each other as people. And then obviously for one-to-one clients, you get phone calls whenever you need. But yeah, I think the human element is important, especially when it's something where we're trying to learn. There's like getting the information, but then there's also like the how, right? And I think like either figuring it out on your own or having a coach kind of let you know how they came to their decision about what you should do. I think that's going to have more value than just like Chat GPT giving you the answer. So yeah, no AI app will ever come out, but hopefully at some point, if I ever get around to it, I will have a custom branded app, but it will just be trainerized. If any of you are like graphic designers or whatever, and you have like some really great idea for what my corporate logo should be, if that's a thing, let me know, because I do need to actually get around to that since I paid for it. But yeah, I'm not doing the automation. I have like, you sign up, you get like one automated message asking like what program you want to start with, and then another sending you like an intro video, and that's about it as far as the automation. So yeah, I hope that that kind of explained everything. Let's see what else I have. Is this? God damn it. Now I'm trying to get to my phone to see the additional questions. I'll probably have to call it here in a bit, but I'll try to get through as many of those as I can. Feel free to ask anything you guys like. If you guys want to riff on anything that I'm talking about, feel free. Oh, Bill, what's up? Okay. Really enjoying the cutting mobility program on Trainerize, starting my first 48-hour fast tomorrow. Awesome, dude. Okay, so real quick, you probably already heard this, but I just want to make sure that I let you know while I have you here. Make sure you have some kind of electrolyte supplement. I don't think it's mandatory, but it makes it easier. You definitely notice a difference. I like to use it before workout and then before bed. Okay, never mind. So you bought the book. Okay, cool. But I always try to go through it anyway, just to make sure. And then yeah, make sure you have some good sparkling water. I like Spindrift, but you got to watch out for some of the flavors because they have too many calories. I love grapefruit, but it's got too many calories, unfortunately. It could throw you out fast. The lemon and lime Spindrift, that's where you want to go. Those are great. But yeah, just message me on there if you have any questions while you're going through it, and I'll walk you through it. I mean, it's very simple. It's self-explanatory, but yeah, if you do have any questions, let me know, man. Oh, word. What's up, dude? This is Marco, his program is called Blue Ridge Sasquatch because he lives in some sick mountains and is definitely very jacked. Have you ever achieved full splits, either middle or side? No, dude. Unfortunately, I have not. I've gotten fairly close on front, nowhere near on middle. But then I've always kind of like deprioritized and gone off the rails on that. If I just stuck with Lucas Hardy's programming, I would already be doing full splits or full front splits 100%. But I'm not a good client myself. I always go off program. So, which is not to say that you guys should go off program. You guys should do whatever I say and not ever go off program and just max on Zercher deadlifts instead of doing your mobility. But that's kind of who I am as a client. Yeah, no, unfortunately, but I know what I would do. I know what I would do if I wanted to do it, but I always deprioritize it. And I mean, I've had times where I'm barely getting my workouts in at all, so I have to deprioritize something. Yeah, I've tended to prioritize arms over front splits. Are heel elevated deficit reverse lunges a reasonable regression to pistol squats? Good way to work up to them. Sorry, heel. That's a lot of stuff to wrap around. Let me get some energy. Heel elevated deficit reverse lunges a reasonable progression to pistol squats. It kind of depends on what the limiting factor is. I mean, that seems like it would work for the strength in that position, but then you've also got to factor in the mobility and hip flexor strength in the leg that you're keeping up, which would be better trained by something like an L sit, maybe an assisted L sit. I don't think I have it up on members. I don't think I have it. That's only on my. I think I only have that up on Trainerize for my clients, but I have a little setup. I'll just tell you how I do it. I set up put a band on my neck and my feet to scale L sits to make that easier. So that would also do that in conjunction, I think, with your deficit reverse lunges, and that would probably build the strength for pistol squat. But then honestly, in some cases, it can be good to actually have a little like a little light dumbbell in front of you as a counterweight. That can also be a good regression depending on where you are, and then just doing heel elevated pistol squats in some cases, depending on whether it's ankle mobility that's the issue, or hip flexor strength, or quad strength, or whatever. There are different ways to regress. So you teach full mobility before the exercise. I don't quite understand that question. Can you elaborate on that? In the meantime, I'll try to get to a couple more questions. I'm gonna have to call it in a bit. My kids just got in, but I'm good to answer a couple more. Let's see what do we have. Okay, here's one. Advice for people who say I get lightheaded when I fast. Are they just being soft? No, it's not being soft. So two things. First, you are going to feel more that way on your initial fasts, and as you get more experienced, more acclimated, you're not going to get lightheaded as easily. That being said, taking an electrolyte supplement definitely helps. And I think, yeah, someone has already said that. But yeah, electrolytes help, but also just adaptation. That being said, I mean, it still can happen to a degree. I mean, a lot of times when I do overhead presses while fasted, I have to take a knee really quickly afterwards, not to fall and hurt myself. But that's okay. Before something like before something like the full Zercher, you have stretching progressions that must be met before doing the advanced exercise. That really depends on the exercise in question. Like with the Zercher deadlift, meaning just a deadlift with the bar and the elbows off the floor. Yeah, I tend to say you need to be able to actually get in that position pretty easily before you can really push that exercise. Because if you're really having to yank yourself into that position, you probably can't push that exercise as hard as you probably need to without more risk of injury. But then there are plenty of mobility exercises where you're trying to use the weight to help stretch you into that position. So in those cases, you're going to just start immediately, like with Jefferson curls. You're going to start with whatever weight, with a safe weight, like maybe 15 pounds, but then just do it to whatever range you can do, right? Just based on kind of the intention of the exercise. If we're trying to have an exercise that's like a main lift, like like a main lift that you're going to be pushing, relatively close to failure, you want to be, safely within your range of motion. If you're using it as more of a mobility exercise, then obviously we're trying to increase range of motion. So we're trying to stretch into ideally new ranges if possible. Just in that case, we want to make sure that our loading is safe to where we're not going to injure ourselves. So, right, like we're talking about like it's a difference in how we're using it. Like, let's say we're doing 225 for 10 on Zercher deadlifts. That's kind of a different intention than just starting with a 15-pound dumbbell and doing Jefferson curls. I hope that made some kind of sense. I tried fasting, working in a blue-collar type job, lifting a lot of stuff, and I have a blood disorder that makes me feel dizzy. Well, if you have a blood disorder, I'm not going to give you medical advice on that. I have no idea how that works. I've done extended fasting on a job that required physical exertion, shall we say. I never had any issues with that, but I was pretty experienced with fasting before I ever actually tried going on the job with it. So I do think like experience, like having, a good number of extended fasts under your belt makes a big difference. But if you got a particular medical condition, I am not going to give you advice on that. That's between you and your doctor. I really can't give you advice there. Should I be fully recovered from a back strain before starting Jeffersons, or should I start and progress with them as part of rehab and recovery? I would actually tend to say you should be fully recovered, or at least 90%. You should be pretty squared away before you're doing Jefferson curls. I obviously favor them as a way to potentially prevent injury. I think they can absolutely make you more resilient. But when you're already injured, already strained, I would do safer stuff like back extensions and then pulls from the floor first to kind of get the muscles working in a way that's safe for them, that's not straining them. And then kind of the last step, once everything is pretty much healed, okay, now we can bring in Jefferson curls to try to build some resilience so maybe this doesn't happen next time. And that's where I kind of part ways with maybe a lot of the movement optimist types who would just say, it's like do whatever you want, whenever you want. Pain is all in your head. It's psychosocial model. It could just be maybe your friend group sucks. Maybe your buddies are just assholes, and that's why your back hurts, right? I'm talking a little too much shit, but whatever. Let's yeah. Let me see what else I got. Every time I pull up my the post on my YouTube, it always blanks out for a second before I can actually see all the questions. Would you ever do lift-specific programs? Of course, keeping your style of programming and exercise selection. For example, an overhead press strength program with odd lifts included. A lot of my programs are end up being like that because I use the overhead press, and I do think with strict press, doing it in more of a strength-specific manner actually works really well for hypertrophy too. So a lot of my programs actually kind of end up doing that. As far as more specific odd lifts, that's something that I kind of get into more with my one-to-one clients, and that's kind of a fun little exploration that we're kind of going into uncharted territory trying to program some of these lifts, because you have programming for powerlifting, right, or Olympic lifting, but how do we apply that to something like a Zercher deadlift, something like a one-hand deadlift? What is it? It doesn't necessarily end up being quite as simple as copy and paste a powerlifting program and throw in the odd lift. And that's kind of a trial and error thing that I get into with some of my clients, and that's really fun. It's a really fun challenge. It's stressful too because I don't necessarily have all the answers because this is kind of uncharted territory, and I feel like an asshole when like what we do doesn't work. But you know, that's kind of what you're gonna be faced with when you do try to get into uncharted territory and do stuff that really nobody else is doing. So yeah, it's a very fun thing to do, and yeah, I definitely do that. Typically, that's going to be stuff that I'm going to be doing with like one-to-one people, because obviously that's going to require a lot more in-depth, like specific programming that doesn't you're probably not going to get that same program to a lot of different people, right? But that's a very cool thing, and yeah, and I've even done like consults with coaches that are more specialized in strength training for powerlifting to just try to make sure that I'm fully up on like best practices in terms of general programming, but then I have to try to figure out how to adapt that to a new lift, and that's an interesting process, but it's very cool. Yeah, that's something where we're gonna learn as we go, and hopefully 10 years from now we'll definitely I'll know more, and maybe we'll all know more as a community about how to get back into doing some of this stuff. And as a result, I think we're going to see numbers on a lot of this stuff that would be very, very surprising to a lot of people once we get a better handle on how to actually train for some of this stuff in a more serious manner. It's like we're going to see regular people, like natural dudes, just doing things that seem to the average person impossible, and that is super cool. So yeah, that's something I'm really excited to be kind of working on, and especially because I do have people who are super impressive coming to me with really cool goals. And I just that's just so much fun to like work towards something that no one else is really doing with somebody. That's awesome. You know what I mean? How hard is it to add other training styles to your program, like martial arts, swimming, sprinting, calisthenics? I mean, the biggest factor, of course, is time. Do you have time for all that? Because everything that you want to get good at, you have to have the time you would need to get good at that thing individually. Now you have to do all of it cumulatively, whatever. So yeah, I mean, if you have the time for it, that's number one. And then obviously you can't have soreness and recovery and pairing them. And I've never trained someone who's doing all of those things. I've had people doing like one or two. And that's just a matter of like reducing the lifting so that you get the other stuff in without it interfering. But doing all of that, I mean, you'd be a hell of an athlete doing every single one of those things. Yeah. It's crazy. My mid back has disc issues, super sore a lot. Twisted movements hurt, but rounded back deadlifts, back loves them. For like a few weeks after, also. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's weird how like something that might not make sense can actually feel amazing. Um, and it kind of goes to show that it's very difficult to actually understand how everything that's happening, because a lot of times you have things like that are kind of counterintuitive. And I mean, yeah, most people who think they understand everything that's going on, maybe are overlooking something. Who did you mention when you talked about splits? Lucas something. Lucas Hardy, range of strength. I worked with him to get my flexibility up. That I was running his programming kind of on my cuts for a while, for like 2 years back to back. That worked really well for increasing my flexibility. I would kind of do my own stuff primarily when bulking, and a little bit of his, just to kind of maintain flexibility, and then I'd go hardcore on his programming over the summer when I was cutting. But yeah, Lucas Hardy from Range of Strength. If you want to get splits, that's definitely the guy to go to. I'm not trying to get you to leave, but yeah, I mean, gotta tell you who's the goat there. Rapture soon, huh, perhaps. McGill, don't think he fixed the bad injections. Can't see that happening. They said join the military and you can get TRT pins. I was like, new, thanks. I'm not into lifting that much anyway. Case, okay, I have no idea what that means. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Lucas Hardy. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to call it here in just a second, guys. Evil bad guy. I don't know what that is saying. All right, let's see. The pins be full of sword. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what. Um, I guess this guy's saying we get that the military gives you pins full of soda or battery acid. I would not recommend taking the. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea, and I definitely don't recommend joining the military because, I mean, I'm not going to say too much about why all our wars are fought, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I would definitely not recommend joining the military. Unfortunately, because I mean, it should be a patriotic thing, but it is not. Unfortunately, maybe the Coast Guard. I feel like the Coast Guard probably do some good things that actually benefit Americans. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, I would not recommend joining the military. When is the multi-volume history of bodybuilding being published? Honestly, that's not my thing, man. I mean, I'm not a historian. I'm not. And honestly, if you want that, just get Muscle, Smoke, and Mirrors by Randy Roach. Or did I say that right? Yeah. Muscle, Smoke, and Mirrors. Look it up. That really good book. It's already been written. I'm not the historian type. Like I want to look back. Like I'm looking back at this stuff through as a practitioner. I don't necessarily care what happened and when. I want to look back for tools that I can use. And once I've got the tools, I mean, obviously I'm inspired by the old school guys. And obviously I think that there are times in history where bodybuilding and strongman and all this stuff have been much more positive things that we should emulate. But like my biggest focus is I want to take what they had that was good and bring it back to this year. And I want that for me. And I want to do that. I want to live that and do that. And I want to help, people in this era do all the good things and benefit from all the good things they had. I'm not trying to, get that into like, okay, at this time, this guy did this guy did that. I think it's useful stuff to know. I'm super happy that there are people out there that are more of that bent, like Randy Roach, who I mentioned, like Golden Era Bookworm, like people like that really just love getting into the history because it's very interesting to know. But I mean, yeah, it's not really my thing. That's why my book it's not about it doesn't really go into who did what when, except as I just to kind of give a little bit of hype for certain lifts, like just to share this one little cool tidbit to get you excited about a lift. But I want you to get excited about it so that you go do it, right. It's not, and it's helpful to look into the history sometimes, kind of to see like why certain things were done the way they were at that time and why they may have been abandoned and whether that makes sense. But it's not my primary focus. And I mean, I do look up stuff, but it's mostly with an eye towards what can I find here that we can use. Any alternatives to the military to gain militant skills? I mean, besides martial arts, I mean, there are tons of people offering, offering training. You got tons of good firearms trainers out there that'll give you very good quality training. Now, that being said, I mean, can you afford to pay for training every week with a reputable trainer? That's going to be hard, but I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard to replicate the level of training you get at the military as a civilian. But I mean, do you really want to put yourself in the position where you might have to obey orders that you might not want to obey? That's kind of the question. I mean, I get both arguments, but I would think very carefully about it. But yeah, I mean, Coast Guard. I mean, if you get on depending on what job description you do in the Coast Guard, I imagine you'd learn a lot of pretty good tactical stuff, and that's, I think, a pretty you have a low risk, I think, in the Coast Guard of having to do anything objectionable. So yeah, Coast Guard might be a good option. Let's see. All right. See, I'm trying to get like one. I'm gonna have to wrap it up here in a second. I'm trying to end on a high note. Anybody got when's the next stream? I don't know. If you guys like these, I can try to do them more often. Sometimes it's easier to do this than to like edit a video, because editing videos is really tough for me. Like scripting out a video and editing, and I'm not very good at. So this would be easier if you guys like that. So yeah, I mean, I could try to do it more often. I don't have a set plan. Like my whole schedule is kind of up in the air right now, but yeah, I should probably try to figure out a schedule that works for me to do them more often. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to commit to a particular schedule right now, but yeah, streams would be good. I kind of want. I mean, I feel like I would like to do podcasts if I had time. Dude, you read my mind. Yeah, I mean, I kind of would like to do a podcast just because I feel like I'm like I go in a lot of different directions. So there are a lot of different people that I'm interested in that I would like to talk to, and maybe my audience could hear from me. It's kind of a like almost until recently an outsider to fitness, who I guess has got the notoriety now that I could potentially talk to people from all sorts of different areas of fitness, bring that together. I feel like that would be pretty cool. But then I'm adding something extra to my plate, and I'm already like completely overwhelmed in terms of time commitments with trying to balance like family and business. And I would also have to actually get like the sound right, the recording right, and make sure like I'm not wasting somebody's time on a stream that's actually fucked up. And that would be, I mean, that would probably be outside of my technical abilities. I feel like I would have to have like somebody who was, I'd probably have to have like a helper, like somebody to help me out who actually like knows technical shit to be able to do that. But if I had somebody who like could handle the technical shit, I would love to do that. How much should someone be able to deadlift conventionally before Zercher deadlifts become a better stimulus? Good question. Huh. I would get your conventional up to at least 315 because that should be super. This is for men. I have no idea for women, so I know there's one woman here. I have no idea. For men, I would get it up to at least 315 because that's low hanging fruit. That being said, if you have the mobility for it, it wouldn't hurt you to also do Zercher as well. But yeah, I think you should definitely, if you can't deadlift 315, you should definitely be trying to deadlift it like fast. Mike and ramble for 45 to 60 minutes. Yeah, I mean the problem is like I have a mic, but like can I operate it? I don't know what any of this stuff does. The like my kid messed with this little button here and it threw everything off. And like whenever I get into what's the program called, DaVinci, to try to edit it, it's like, oh my god, what's going on here? So Yeah. What's the meaning of life? 42. What happens if an unstoppable force hits an unmovable object? It deflects in a different direction. Um, yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I appreciate the vote of confidence. I've always kind of wanted to do a podcast because, like, I like going on other people's podcasts, but I always talk about the same stuff. How did you get into doing this? How did you get into doing that? Um, and yeah, I'd rather talk about like other different various things. And I also feel like the fitness space podcasts in the fitness space are really like tame and boring. And I would like to just like kind of talk shit and be just be a little bit more controversial. Maybe yeah. Maybe I'll think about it. Oh yeah. All right, so we got to the meaning of life. So I think on that note, I'm gonna have to end this. The kids are back. It looks like they've had their bath, so I need to help with their dinner time. people think that I People think that I mostly lift weights, but I mostly just oh god, blood sports style debate with Dr. Mike Lynn. He wouldn't debate me. Why would he? None of these people are going to acknowledge that I exist. Um, I can. The only possibility is I could possibly bait Lane Norton into doing it if I made it seem like I was going to say really stupid stuff. He would probably debate me, and then if I hit him with something he wasn't expecting, like I made it seem like I was going to say something dumb, I think Lane would debate me, but because you can bait him like that. If he thinks you're going to be easy, he'll go after you. But I would have to do some bait and switch with Lane. But yeah, they wouldn't talk to me. All right, well yeah, I'm gonna call on this note. I've enjoyed this. It's cool to just like casually talk and not have to like script everything out and then like stay up till like 1 a.m. on DaVinci trying to make the little like times go right. So yeah, it's been fun. Appreciate you guys hanging out, and I will catch you guys later. I'm gonna try to make this thing like available on the like as a thing that people can watch if they didn't catch this. I don't know how that's gonna work. I think that works. Um, but yeah, I don't really know how this like YouTube stuff works. So on that note, I'm going to end this. All right, thank you guys.